I'm trying to. I have my daughter's phone, so I can pull up YouTube so I can see comments too.
Nice.
Hey, how you doing tonight? We are on live with a special guest tonight, and you'll notice that we have. What is that?
Oh, headphones.
Radgirl.
Okay. I gotta tell you, no matter what happens in my world, that always happens in my world. Okay. No matter what happens in my world, that always happens in my world. Okay, so anybody who has YouTube actually going, make sure you.
Woo! There we go.
Gymnastics.
Oh, very good, very good. Okay, so tonight on Val's Life, aka KATchUL8r FPV, or soon to be, we have a very special guest. She is called LittleStellarFox, and she has started a competition that is directly aimed at women to bring a little more recognition to the FPV flyers that are women, and it's called Ripping Ovaries. Now, I know every time I say that, the guys kind of go, oh, no. But
I love it.
What do you guys call it?
Listen, it happens monthly, so if you're not used to it, just move on in life and learn some anatomy.
Yeah.
The whole ripping ovaries thing happened because we don't have balls. So to keep it to keep it the same biologically, that would be us. So we're ripping our ovaries instead.
There we go. Yes, Kim will one day get over this whole thing.
No, I had a guy when I first announced it. He was like, the name is terrible, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, women learn about what ovaries are when we're like 11 years old. So it's really not that terrible. It's just part of our body, you guys.
Just
Yeah, really.
If you see me looking up, it's because I'm trying to move my chat to a place that makes sense. I want to say hello to some people in chat. We have Michael Banny, Ariel Williams, Rojo, Lena Music, Anthony Benson. Hey, Anthony. We have Canadian Drone Hub, which is a place we all meet every morning. Let's see, who else do we have in? Okay, if I'm skipping, oh, Ed. Hey, Ed. Ed's in the house, and there'll be more as we go. So I want to first talk about the competition because that's the thing that's been significant to me, knowing that someone's out there. You're fairly young, right, Jamie? This is Jamie, by the way.
I turned 30 this year, so I'm not that young. But I guess I'm not really that old either. I'm full of life. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
My middle girl, my only girl, is turning 30 this year. So
it's a really interesting age so far. I'm gonna I only notice it when I go to hang out with people that are a lot younger than me, and then I'm just like, oh wow, I can't do this. Like, you guys are worried about things that don't even matter. So but between all of the hobbies, it's like there's quite a few younger people in all the things that I enjoy. So it's just kind of like, some of them are really cool. And then some of them I'm just like, wow, you are very young. And I feel old right now. Thanks.
Right? Every decade gets better. I will say that. Every decade you pass and you go into your next, it all gets better and then better. It's the one marvelous thing. I turned 60. So far, the last couple of years have been the best in my life. So it just depends.
I'll say that. I'm much happier with the human being I am now than I was 5 years ago. Like, I'm much more confident in myself as a human being, for sure. Like, if I had the confidence and knowledge that I do right now 10 years ago, man, I'd be like running the world right now. Come on now.
Right.
But I've learned a lot. And yeah. I'm trying to get my YouTube to open so I can see comments and stuff on another device.
So can someone look up maybe I can do it. I know that you can't put anything in the chat because you're on a phone, yeah?
Yeah, no, I can't view like the live feed because we're using an app to do our streaming. So I have to have that one open. If I close it, which is what I was trying to do earlier, if I close it, it'll close my video out so I can't see it. So I'm working on that, but it's yeah, I'm working on it.
So that's the actual name, and if you go in there, it will bring it up. It's called, she is LittleStellarFox, and it's Jamie Ann.
Yep, it's LittleStellarFox on like all of the things. But yeah, so this competition that I'm putting on.
What are we looking up for, Kim?
Oh, sorry. Just her name, so people can see her name. Stella.
Yeah,
Jamie.
we got it in. So that's the best I can do for you, Love My Drone. She's very honest about us going in and putting stuff in the chat. So tell me, first let's go over why the contest?
So ever since I went to Rampage last fall, Rotor Riot did like a big thing that a lot of people are aware of. Ever since I went to Rampage last fall and I was part of that freestyle competition, I made it in by points, which I was really shocked. I was just like, oh my God, I actually made it in like against the other people who wanted to do it. So I made it in at the last second. I was the last person on the list to make it. And it was a lot of fun, like the competition itself. And it got me thinking from that point, I was like, I want to do something just for the girls like this. But over the last year, obviously, I've figured out all of the ridiculous, like it would be impossible to do something in person with how spread out the females are. You know, there are so many girls, not just in the US, how we're literally spread across the whole country. Like there's 2 up here and there's 2 down here and there's me in the middle and a couple of girls in Colorado and one in Texas. You know, it's so spread out, but then they're everywhere in the world that it's like, I can't, who's going to buy plane tickets to go and bring a large group of girls into one spot? So I've been working on a couple of different things, and I finally came to this online competition where I'm going to have the girls send me videos and I'm going to post them onto a competition channel so that, you know, people can be part of the popular vote. But I really, it's finally coming together. Like it's taken quite a while to get the pieces all together and to get prizes lined up and to get everything organized to a point that I was like, okay, I'm ready to like try to actually do this and announce it. Plus I was dealing with some health stuff. So it took me a little while to like, I had to take a break from like most FPV things in general for a couple of months. So I had to push it off a little bit, but got a hold of all the people that I needed to, and I've got good backers when it comes to prizes. So it was one of those things I was just like, all right, well, we're doing this now. Like this is happening for real. And I was really hesitant to announce it because I knew a portion of the male population would not be very happy that they weren't allowed to play. But that's why the popular vote is there, because I want the guys to still be involved and they can still pick their favorite pilot. But first through third is going to be only the judges. So
why do you think why do you think that some guys wouldn't be happy with this? What exactly do you think?
Well, they verbalized quite a bit that I was being sexist and that if there was a male only competition, everybody would have lost their minds. And it's kind of like, well, most of the competitions are male only.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm. And me and the other judges had to explain to people, like we had to explain to them that just because this is something for women doesn't mean that it's something against the men. The whole purpose of this, the whole reason I want to do this is to showcase these amazing pilots that nobody seems to know about, because I follow, I don't know, 40 or so female pilots that I get to sit there and see them ripping and building and trying and like learning and progressing. And I'm like, oh my God, this makes me so excited, because all I want is to one day be able to, you know, go and hang out with a group of female pilots and fly with a group of female pilots. That's like my dream. So I see all these girls and it's just like, I want to showcase them. you know, a lot of the community knows who I am, and that's great. But what about all these other girls that they just seem to get overlooked a little bit because there's so many guys that are pushing out content? It's super intimidating for girls to even want to put content up because there's a lot of backlash. Like it's 90% of the community is super supportive. And then there's that 10% that's just like, meh, leave, you're a girl. Or they try to like over sexualize it somehow, which is like ridiculous.
So we've had that on occasion on certain channels that will go to that females and people I know go to, and they do sexualize it. So it's uncomfortable. It's also uncomfortable to say you're uncomfortable. Correct?
Yeah. If you mention you're uncomfortable in a group of guys, a lot of times they'll sit there and be like, well, we're not uncomfortable, so you shouldn't be uncomfortable. And it's like, I'm the only girl in this situation. It makes sense why you're not uncomfortable. Like, you're not the one.
A group of girls and then see how that works, right?
Yeah. I was going to say this weekend we went to a race event and I was the only female flying that was there actually flying. There was a couple of wives hanging out in their corners, but like no other chicks did anything that day at all.
Scary.
And that's crazy to me. It's crazy.
And then you sit there and honestly, I think that with this competition, another big thing is that I feel if I can get this together, how I'm envisioning it, it'll be a great resource to be able to be like, to any females that are even interested in the hobby, be like, oh yeah, you want to see some girls that are really killing it? Check out this. And then they'll get to see girls out here flying and pushing themselves and having fun and creating this amazing artistic outlet that doing videos really is. You know, like flying for me is such a release, and being able to edit it together is this artistic thing that I get to do, that I can share with you guys the emotions that I'm feeling while I'm flying. And I want to be able to show all of the females that do this to other females so they can sit there and be inspired and be like, ooh, I want to do that. Because when a girl sees a guy doing something, it's cool. But when a girl sees another girl doing something, it's like, I can do that too. Like, I want to do that too.
Right.
So girls lifting other girls. That's why all the judges are female. That's why this was organized by me. It's not something that, you know, Armatan is throwing an amazing prize of sponsorship. The other companies involved are throwing in some amazing prizes, but I haven't released the list yet. But the fact is they didn't put this together. I did for these girls, because I want it to be a girls lifting girls, us supporting each other. Like, hey, girl power, keep flying, keep doing it, push yourself. I love it. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I have Jamie type something in the chat. She can't, and I'm sorry about that. She's unable to because
Love My Drones has taken up posting her link for her repetitively, so he's got her covered.
Nice.
Oh,
thank you, whoever's doing that. Yeah, I can't see the chat. Fun fact that a couple, like the people who have been following me for a while, have picked up, but a couple of a fun fact is that I have been doing all of my computer stuff on my phone since April, all of my editing, all of my streaming, all of my everything. And there are certain things you can't do when you're using an app, like we're using a third-party app to be able to do the group chat. So because I have that open, I can't see YouTube live comments or anything. So I'm sorry, you guys, but I tried and it just wasn't working for me to be able to see you guys as well. So here we are. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
And like even the chat, even our chat within the app right now isn't popping up for me like it was. So I'm not really sure what to do in this particular scenario. I should have gone to the library and streamed from there, but
you're fine.
I didn't think about it.
I was gonna say RC Crazy keeps posting in the chat like different chicks. Every chick you have posted, I follow, and I'm pretty sure Jamie follows, and I bet you Radgirl follows.
Absolutely.
So like, don't worry, guys. If you find a chick that we haven't seen, I'll respond. But I mean, we know Harley Quinn, we know May on High, we know Real Oni Girl, we know Mako Racer. Like half these girls you're listing are actually judges for the contest.
Yeah.
So
Probably.
if it's someone we don't know, we'll reply. But if we know these girls already, I can't reply to every single one of your.
And let me
things.
say this. Let me say the thing about finding women and saying, no, these 10, 15, maybe even 20 women, there are hundreds of male FPV flyers.
Yeah. Is Katana down in there? Is her name on the list? Oh, wait. Exactly. And that's one of those girls that I know she's going to be killing it. How about Sabby? Is she being listed?
They haven't listed her yet.
You know?
No, they're listing like the bigger follower girl.
Exactly. The names that everybody already knows.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, for example, if you haven't seen the posts online, the judges are me, Onigiri, May on High, Mako Reactra, and ta-da-da, I haven't announced it yet. Zoe is going to be our 5th judge, Zoe FPV. So
I just heard about Zoe. She's gonna, from what?
Well, Zoe is one of my biggest mentors. I love Zoe to death, and when it comes to FPV in general, she's a great pilot. But she is like the pilot when it comes to 3D flying. And if you don't know anything about that, watching it live this weekend was one of those things. I'm just saying there, I'm like, I want to do this so bad, but I don't want to break everything I own that bad.
Right.
Like, it's so amazing to watch the things she can do.
She's on another trip because I was going to have her come on pretty soon. But
me and her were both down in Orlando at the same time.
Yeah, we're missing our weeks, and she's flying or I'm off. So we're still working on a date to have her come on. We're trying really hard. She just got a hold of me again today. So she's traveling. So hopefully that'll happen soon. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, because she rocks. She just rocks. There's no way to look at it.
They're just doing a bunch of filming and stuff down in Orlando because that's what we were doing all weekend with Rotor Riot.
So,
sorry, I was going to say RC Crazy Val was saying in the chat for Jamie that you were the first FPV lady he found on Instagram, but what actually caught his attention was your hula hooping.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of those other hobbies that I do. I've tried to do like the separate social media accounts, but I can't. So I just keep all of it on one and try to like separate it a little bit. But I feel that's more authentic because you get to see more than just
you.
Yeah, it's all of me is in one spot. So, you know, I have tamed down my channels quite a bit over the last couple of years just because because I don't like dealing with a bunch of crazy nonsense. But overall, it's if anybody wants to know some more of these female pilots, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. And what I've been doing, literally what I've been doing for the last year is anytime anybody's like, female pilots, what are you talking about? I just link out like as many accounts as I can until I get tired of it. And I'm like, here are all of their Instagrams. Like, just click and follow and you'll get to see the amazing things these girls are doing. So anybody who is interested in learning more about some of these other girls up until the contest gets going and like we put all their names on a big list and you get to see everything, just shoot me a message and I'll link you up. I'll send you all of them that I can until, like I said, I'll get to a point that I'm just like, oh, I'm so sick of searching and sending profiles. So
right. Because the women are just a little more hidden because a lot of our guys on YouTube don't also do Instagram. Like we have Canadian Drone Hub. We all love Roger, but he does not do Instagram or what he used to call Twitter, even though it's Twitter. And he doesn't do them because it's just too much. Right? I mean, he's on every day, so he doesn't do those. So we'll see. I think something like FPV Girl, she kind of gothic, I guess. There's no one, I can't remember. Oh my God. So many. Okay. Yeah. And
Stoner Trash. Oh, she's my favorite lately. Like, I've been watching this chick. Her name is Stoner Trash FPV on Instagram. And she's really introverted, which I love because even though, you know, I get on here and I talk and stuff, I totally understand where she's at when it comes to that. But her flying has progressed so much in the last 2 months that I'm just like she has such a great support system. I love it. She's one of those chicks that is just like, I love watching these girls grow and learn and go from like being scared to even post something to here they are like, this is my 2-month video and look at all the progress I've made. And I'm just like, yes, keep doing it, keep flying.
Yeah, I just subscribed to her as well. I think like just this past week, and yeah, it's amazing. She's doing really well.
Oh yeah, well, Reckless, her significant other, he's a pretty good up and coming pilot as well. So it's really nice that they do it together. You know, that's something my husband and I used to fly together, but he barely flies at this point, which is, you know, I kind of knew would happen because I got into the hobby before he did. And then it was one of those things like he was super into it with the racing stuff. And then a lot of the racers learn that, you know, you break a lot of stuff basically every time you race.
You do.
So that got really disheartening for him. I mean, and he's good. He's a very good pilot. That's the thing. He just doesn't enjoy it anymore. So he just doesn't. I think he's flown like once in the last 6 months, twice maybe. So it's really nice that like when I see couples that do it together and they're both into it and they're both loving it, I love that because it's like, yes, you have the best possible support system right now that you could possibly have because the person that you would be spending your free time with anyway also enjoys flying. So it's just like you both do that together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the girls are like that.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest stumbling block to getting girls and women into this hobby?
Exposure that there are women who do this hobby. I really think that that's the biggest hurdle because a lot of girls, like I said before, you know, they'll sit there and you can show girls all of the amazing male pilots that you want. But at the end of the day, they're not going to connect with those male pilots because it's boys doing another boys sport. It's like, oh, sweet. Just like, you know, 90% of the female population would look at football and be like, yeah, those guys are really good at football. That's cool. But I think that because of the lack of exposure in general, of that there are women flying and we are actually flying, and that there are so many women that are flying that don't fly, I think that that is a huge hurdle as well. Because it's like anybody can take a selfie with a set of goggles.
Right.
Anybody can. But to see other females actually flying, I think is the big thing. A lot of girls don't get that. They get overwhelmed with the large number of males. And then if they do put themselves out there, they're bombarded by the male population. Because let's keep it real. This is a bunch of grown men playing with toys. Okay. It's a large group of grown men playing.
I take offense to that.
Back with you, Kim. Back with you, Kim. Well, it is. It is.
But it really is because any pilot, any female pilot, I'm sure any of the girls that are currently in this chat right now can sit there and be like, yep, I've gotten some inappropriate stuff from some male pilots. Every single one of us can say that because as soon as you put it out there and it's like, oh, you're a girl, then it's like, oh, you're a girl. And it's like, oh, sweet, boobs are ruining my life once again. I love it.
Yeah.
So
Love
now
My Drones has a question too, Val, in the chat.
Who does?
I love my drones.
Let me go up. So why do you think women aren't encouraged more? Afraid their partners will be embarrassed? Most everyone here, well, Val and Kim could fly better than I do.
I know that like in a lot of the relationships, it's not really a if they're better type of scenario. I think a lot of it has to do with the girls not feeling like they can be on the same level as their significant others who are really pushing it and getting support. And like I said, it's scary to post videos as a girl. It's scary to put yourself out there in such a male-dominated community because it gets really weird really fast.
You know what? I think that those true words have never been spoken. And I think that sometimes, because we can be fairly strong individuals, that sometimes the men don't think, wow, if I say this, this will be a problem. She's strong, but it's not about being strong. It's about being appropriate. That's how I look at it.
The other thing is you have to remember that not all the time, but a lot of times males, when you're a female in a male dominated hobby, because I've been in lots of male dominated communities, it's a weird thing for these guys. They're not used to having to pull back in that manner.
They are.
So they may not even realize what they're saying is offensive. You know, they might just be like, because they're not used to having, and for the most part, it's not. If you really look at it, like if you're not being super sensitive about silly nonsense, like let's be adults here. If you make one little comment, make a joke back, okay? Let's not lose. They're not all bad. Most of them are just guys trying to communicate and they don't know how. But if it's something that is like straight on inappropriate, like, hey, this is gross, this is making me uncomfortable, you should just be straightforward about it and really just be like, hey, no.
Yeah. I know, like even at I go to the airfield with my husband and it's mostly guys there and they're all older gentlemen, so you know they are relatively behaving themselves pretty well. But you know, there's no women even there, like even just flying a regular RC airplane, and I come along and I'm trying to learn how to fly line of sight with an airplane, and all the guys are like, whoa, like you're the only girl that comes out here to fly, and they just can't even believe like a girl wants to share in their hobby.
So really quick, guys, I want to say hello to a few people I see crazy. Hello. Patrick, how's the baby? From a few Manifold Drones, Geeksylvania. So nice to see you. Of course, we have Furball as the moderator. Love my drones. Wait for it, FPV. Mr. Crowley and his drone. Let's see, our Morning Place, Canadian Drone Hub. Droning about Northwest. Let's see. And then in the chat, and we have more. So if I miss you, it's not intentional. We have Radgirl FPV, who is actually Jennifer. We have Katrina, who is KATchUL8r FPV. We have Jamie Ann, who is LittleStellarFox, who is doing this contest. And we have Furball. He's supposed to be holding the moderation thing for me, you know, like typing in the chat and taking care of all that. But
doing an awesome job.
I think all he's been doing is eating, but we'll just let it go for now.
That's normally what I do when I'm streaming, though. Like normally I'm sitting here, and when I'm doing my live streams, I'll be sitting there. I'm like, don't mind me. I'm just eating more food.
Well, it's because it's the only time at night you get to sit and actually eat, probably. Because your life is so busy, right? You're like, oh, I'm trying to squeeze in the live stream. Oh, I guess I should eat at some point before I sleep.
I think it's more of an anxiety thing. Like I get nervous and I'm just like, if I chew on something, it won't be as weird. But no, it makes it probably weirder. They're just like, wow, Jamie's always eating something. It's like, I have to, I'm hungry.
I know. I just brought a big bowl of grapes and now I'm looking, going, what happened to them?
No, my grapes.
All? I think
I did good. I didn't bring any food in here with me this time specifically, so I wasn't sitting here like lip smacking, doing, you know.
Hey, Sparky 101 and Rolex. Hi, how you doing? So I guess what are the things that you think, I mean, going away, just a little bit away from FPV, and I asked everyone this, whether they're female or male, what has been the biggest hurdle for you on YouTube? And on, let's just say, any of the social media platforms?
Oh, geez. That's really hard because realistically, I don't think that when it comes to YouTube and stuff like that, I've had many issues. Like I'll have tech issues and stuff every now and then, but most of that's just because technology kind of hates me. But if you just keep posting and sharing, it all comes naturally. Like if you post and share with the community, in any community, like in any of the social medias, if you care about the numbers and you care about views and you care about all that stuff, which is hard for me to put value in personally. If you care about that stuff, it all happens naturally if you just keep putting content out. You have to keep putting yourself out there because it's when you stop. And I'll say that anytime I've taken breaks, that's definitely like been the more difficult parts of coming back into social media because it's like, you know, in life in general, I deleted all of my social media a couple years ago. And I didn't have Facebook, any of it, none of it for 2 years. And while it was an amazing 2 years where like I really focused on a lot of other things that were important, there were constantly points in time where it was like, oh, hey, did you see what I put online? And it's like, no, because I don't have Facebook. No, because I don't have YouTube. And it's just like, I got really disconnected from people in general because everybody uses this stuff now. This is how people communicate now. Facebook in general, I hate Facebook. I really do. I hate the platform. I hate the way it's set up. I hate the algorithms. And it really is, it ruins every video you post. There's so many restrictions. I hate Facebook. But it is such a great business tool that it's ridiculous because so many people use it for business purposes. And that's like the only reason at this point that I have Facebook is solely to be able to keep communication and connection with the people within the communities that I'm in with them. Because there are certain people that the only way I communicate with them is through Facebook. The only way I communicate with some people is through Instagram. And when I've been like, screw this, I'm going to delete everything and leave for a month, those are the people that when I get back are just like, their whole world has ended because they're just like, I thought you were dead. And it's just like, no, you guys, it's just overwhelming. And I don't want to be on the internet. Like, I have a lot of real life stuff happening. And this is like an extra stressful step that, you know,
Right.
I'm not getting paid for. It's not like people are like paying me like, you have a full-time job and a life and a family and all the shit that you have to take care of, but also do all this stuff and no money. Enjoy that. So that's another thing is it's really one of those things that it takes your personal time. And I guess that's a big thing with a lot of people is it requires you to put a large portion of your personal time into social media to be successful with social media.
Right. And that's
you have
I'm
to build it
always
up.
gonna have trouble with because I don't mind with YouTube, but when I have to start doing Instagram, Facebook, it's almost too much.
And that's why I keep it to just the one Instagram account, just the one Facebook account, just the one YouTube account. Like, it's very small box because I had multiple accounts for things and I was just like, this is ridiculous. It's why I don't do Snapchat. It's why I don't do Twitter. It's why I don't do any of like the other social medias because I feel like the 3 that I'm currently involved in are enough and they cover like all the different bases of the people that are involved with things. I've thought about getting into air views because I know that a lot of pilots use air views, but honestly, it's just not one of those things I'm like, oh, I'm going to have another app on my phone. I'm going to have one more thing that's sending me emails and notifications and messages. And it's just like, I think anybody who needs to talk to me can get a hold of me through already established avenues. Like,
well, it was like when Twitch came out and all these other things and music, exactly, whatever it was. There's so many across the board. And if you get involved, now there are some superhuman beings, as we call 6S, human beings. I feel like you put a 6X battery and they're running around. But most of us aren't like that. I still want to be a slug or a slouch. Got with the small.
You're not a slug. You're a sloth.
A sloth, there you go.
But there's no time. I have Twitter going and I have YouTube and I have Facebook for Facebook. It's only just to get a hold of my friends and people that I'm doing stuff with.
Yeah.
Or y'all, if I'm getting a hold of you. It's not, I don't go on there and really process it. So I know it's a good tool, but I don't know. I can't seem to make that work. I do keto and I do flying and I do interviews all on one channel.
Yep. It's easier. It's easier to just keep it all together so that, and if you set up your if you set your content up that's how it's going to be, people don't complain about it. Because I know some people have to do that sort of separation because they've made their channel 100% about one thing. And it's like, well, that's why my Instagram is so eclectic because I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm going to post hooping stuff today and everybody be like, boo, why are you doing this? It's like, oh, you should expect this. Like, this was a hooping account way before it was an FPV account. Like, it started as a hooping account / modeling account. So when people, like, when I post modeling photos and people lose their minds, I'm just like, are you aware that, like, my entire Instagram this LittleStellarFox tag used to all be modeling photos and hula hoop stuff? Like, if you look back, I deleted a lot of it, honestly, because I had a ton of stuff that got reported, and I was like, oh, I don't want my whole account to get deleted. But it's like, if you look back, it's like, there are little tidbits that I left that it's like, yeah, you guys, like, you haven't been around all this time, but this has been, like, the thing since the beginning. This is still Jamie. Like, get over it or leave. I don't really care.
So who do you fly with now?
Honestly, where I'm at, I don't have a local crew. I have to travel because I'm out in the middle of the sticks. That's why I've been doing everything on my phone, because there's no internet providers where I'm at. It's not that I can't get internet, it's that there are no providers here. So it's like, I really cannot have internet. It's just not possible without, yeah. So I'm out in the sticks, and I have to travel about an hour to get to basically any of the groups. But lately, I lived in Atlanta for a while, and before that, I was traveling down there like twice a month for work stuff and to go and fly. So I'll shoot. It's about 2.5 hours now. I'll shoot down to Atlanta and fly with the guys down there. I fly with the Rotor Riot guys a lot because we film a lot and we do a lot of content and stuff, and that's something that's growing in general and everything. So it's like I fly with a lot of the pilots that you see on the things. So, it's like all those guys, it's just like, I'm that girl that's standing over there flying with them. That little fox chick, that's Jamie. But yeah.
So
I got really lucky in that aspect. I actually met Steele and Stingy like 2 months into flying FPV. So it was one of those things that it was like, you guys, I'm new to this. And they were just like, we like you. And then I just sort of met all of the other top pilots that are over on this side of the country. And it was just, they're cool guys. They're all human beings, amazingly. Like, fun to fly with.
So let me ask, Radgirl and KATchUL8r, are you entering this race?
I'm hoping to.
Yep. Definitely intend to.
So how long do they have?
Okay, so entries are going to open on September 8th. I'm going to give them probably 5 days to put in videos because it's been very much announced. They've had plenty of time. And the way that's going to be is you're going to send me your video to the email that I have on the official rules, which is LittleStellarFoxCreations@gmail.com. You will send me the video via Dropbox link or something where I can download it at full value. So don't send me something that is like, here's the video. Like, it needs to be Google Docs or Dropbox or something like that. So that I can actually put it onto the YouTube channel for the competition. But it'll be about 5 days for the first round that I'm going to let entries happen. And then me and the judges will take the weekend basically to go through the first round of open entries. And we're going to judge them and pick the top 6 to 10, depending on how many entries there are. It'll really just, I anticipate there being upwards of 20. So if there's upwards of 20, we'll cut it in half. And we'll pick like the top 6 to 10. Those girls will make another video, and they'll have probably a week and a half, 2 weeks to a week and a half to 2 weeks to get that second video in. And then from that, we'll judge again. I haven't like set the exact timelines on that because it's really going to depend on the number of entries in the first couple days and stuff. We'll give them time to put together another video for the people who are the top 6 through 10. We'll judge that and we'll knock it down to a lower number. And then we'll figure out the top 3. And in that time period, the videos that are on the YouTube channel, the Ripping Ovaries YouTube channel that hasn't been made public yet, those videos will accumulate likes and stuff like that. And those will be used for the popular vote.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So 1 through 3, like I said, those are all judge picked. Like we will be going through, and it's gonna be a process. But the people who get those positions are winning some really amazing prizes. So it's kind of like first place will be offered sponsorship through Armatan, which is amazing. Yes. They're
hold
also
on.
going to be. They're also
Kim,
going to.
Okay, I think it's. Can you hear?
Kim's having troubles. He was posting in the chat.
Okay. Oh well. Okay, I'm sorry. Jamie. So
you're fine.
you said the first one is going to get a sponsorship?
Yep. So when I approached companies about throwing in prizes for the competition, I am sponsored by Armatan. I reached out to Chris LaRoe and I was like, hey, can we throw in some frames for first through third? You know, let them pick whatever one they want or something like that. And he was like, yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea. Like, we can totally do that. They can pick whichever one. And then a few days later, he's like, hey, what if we offered sponsorship to first place? How would you feel about that? And I was just like, oh my God, the girls are gonna love this. Like, I want these girls to push themselves so much. And I was like, this is exactly what I want. Like, this will push these girls to push themselves hard, because a sponsorship is a big deal. And with Armatan, their sponsorship terms are so relaxed and amazing that it's one of those things that it's like, yeah, this is a great idea. And then like TBS is sending a full-size Crossfire with some receivers. It's like, that's one of those things that when he was like, hey, what if I send this for first place? I was like, can I enter my own competition? Like,
right?
I want sponsorship and a HD mini whoop and, you know, a freaking full-size Crossfire. Like, so, and I haven't released the whole list yet, but I'm really excited about how the prize packs are coming together, and that such big, awesome, well-known companies wanted to be involved, you know, and they're being involved for the warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing that they're helping the female community. Like, it's not like anything else. And I was like, hey, you know, I would, if you want to toss something in, that would be great. And the response was amazing. Like, everybody was just like, yes, this is what we need. We've been needing this, but it's not like any of the companies can put on a competition like this, because then it would be sexist somehow. But I can, because I'm a girl.
Right.
And it's my competition, not Armatan's or Rotor Riot's or TBS's. It's LittleStellarFox. So
Nice.
I'm really excited to be able to offer this for the girls. Like, the girls that are currently in the chat right now with us, I am so excited, because you guys definitely better be entering. And I'm so excited to see what the girls put together, because they can put anything they want in the video except vlogging. Like, I specifically in the rules, I don't want any vlogging. I don't want this to be about your beautiful faces or your shining personalities. We'll have a spot for that. I want this to be about your flying. So I'm really excited to see what these girls put together to make it them, and to make it fun and interesting and worth winning first prize. Because there are going to be some girls that are really bringing it. Like, I already know a couple of girls that are 100% entering, and it's like, MG, if you haven't heard of her, I would highly recommend checking her out. She is an amazing female freestyle pilot, and she's definitely entering.
Love
so
her.
It's one of those things that it's, yeah, they're Little A is going to enter, and Blue Owl is going to enter, and it's kind of like,
oh, nice.
These girls that maybe you haven't heard of, like, you should send me some DMs and ask me for some links and check them out, because the competition is going to be really hard to get first place. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be obviously tougher for the newer pilots, because they won't have quite as many things in their arsenal. But it's why I've set up the judging in the way that I have, that you're not just getting points based on tricks. You're getting points based on location and how you use it. You're getting points based on how you put lines together, because I don't know if you watch my videos, but I may not do a whole bunch of crazy tricks, but I put together a lot of lines. And that's something that is like one of my things, is the way that I do that is just like, oh, that's Jamie's flying. You can tell, because I like to put together like 40-minute clip or 40-second clips and that be my video. So you're not just going to be judged on specifically tricks. It's also going to be all of the other factors that go into freestyle, because you don't have, like, you can do beautiful cinematic stuff, and that requires you basically flying in a straight line in really pretty location, and you're going to get points for that. So it's one of those things that it's like, it doesn't matter so much about how long you've been flying and the skill level that you're at or any of that silly nonsense, because I am certain, I actually already know some of the girls that are going to be entering are better pilots than I am. And it's one of those things, I'm really excited to get to judge that and be like, you're amazing. Like, look at you. So,
right. Because when I watch women flyers, I can almost always tell when they're female flyers. Because, I don't know, okay, nobody get mad at me. There's a certain grace to female flyers when they're doing like the slow flow and that kind of thing. There's just a certain amount of grace. I love it.
It definitely seems, than the mass majority of men, it definitely seems that the girls fly a bit less aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. And I'm really excited because with the people that we have judging, me, Lexi, Ryan, Zoe, and Noelle, with us all judging, we are all very different pilots. Right. We all fly very differently. We're from very different areas of the world. So I picked my judges very, very specifically because I wanted to have different eyes to be able to judge this. I didn't want it to be like, oh, all the American chicks loved this one person because of whatever dumb reason. Like, I wanted it to really be like, we're spread out like we really are, but I wanted different views and different styles to be able to sit there, so it's not just bias. Not only that, but Lexi and Ryan are primarily racers. They both fly freestyle and they're both good freestyle pilots, but I wanted to bring that in as well because they have a different view of freestyle than I do. I see a lot of freestyle, and regardless, I'm just like, ooh, but the racer girls see it a little bit differently than I do because they see lines differently than I do.
Right.
And I'm excited that we've got such an eclectic group of women that are going to be making the decision as to how the points are distributed for each pilot. It'll keep it really fair. But the other big rule with that is something that I like to mention while I'm talking about this because it's in the rules, but anybody who does enter has to have prior flight footage on the internet. Yep. You have to, because this is an online competition. And if there isn't prior flight footage, I can't compare it and make sure it's you flying. I've been involved with online competitions where people were using other people's footage. And I get accused of using other people's footage all the time. Like, even if I'm sitting there flying with the Rotor Riot crew and it's on the Rotor Riot channel and it's video of me flying, people are like, that's not you flying. And I'm just like, what? like we were building out at Rotor Riot this past weekend, and James was taking a bunch of pictures while we were building, and I kept making jokes. I was like, oh, you can't put these online because nobody thinks that I build my own stuff. If they see pictures of me soldering and like video and B-roll of me soldering, oh my God, the world's going to end because girls don't fix their own quads, right?
Right.
Oh, wait. I do.
Unless they do, right?
unless they do. And like, no, it's just one of those things that we have to be able to compare so that we can sit there and make sure that what you're sending in is you flying. Because if the winner ends up being somebody who's using somebody else's footage, it would be completely, like, the whole competition would be ruined. It would take away everything that I want to do with this. and it wouldn't be fair. So that's something to keep in mind for anybody who is wanting to enter starting September 8th, is that make sure you have some progression on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or air views. I don't care where it's at, someplace public, so that we can see your flying to be able to compare. Otherwise, we won't be able to allow your entry, because
So this is one reason for women who are flying to go ahead and post those initial flights. So not to wait till they're perfect, not to wait till they think they add up to all the other women who've been flying for a year, to post them right away, and so everyone can see their progression. That way, go ahead.
I feel that you should, if it's something that you feel you are going to want to be a part of, you should be posting progression anyway. I look back at the very first videos I posted, and they are terrible. It's like grainy DVR of me flying somebody else's quad because I didn't have any of my own stuff. And it's awful. But I like to be able to look back at that and be able, one, if it's on the internet, you have a date as to when you did this. So you can sit there and be like, oh, I've almost been flying for 2 years now, which is great, because after the first year, it's something that you totally lose track of. But the other big thing is being able to sit there and really go back and look at your first videos and be like, oh my God, why did I post this? But I'm glad I did. Like, this is from, it's terrible. It's awful. It's like me doing 1 or 2 little flips. But I only think that now, because if I were to post a video of me right now, just like going up in the air and doing like 1 or 2 little flips and being like, yeah, I did it, everybody would be like, Jamie, what's wrong with you? Like, you do that through trees. Like, why is this cool now? And it's like, because 2 years ago, it really was like the biggest accomplishment I had achieved. Like, you should post what you're proud of, even if you're worried that other people aren't going to like it. In my experience, especially as a female, most of the community is going to be like, yeah, girl, keep pushing, keep flying. You're doing great. Way to be. And the people that don't remember that they started too somewhere. Like, everybody has to start at some point. We didn't just pick up a quad and be like, I'm Mr. Steel level amazing right now, and this is the first pack I've ever flown. So, those guys that are up at the top like that, they fly every day for as many packs as they can, squeeze in. So, and they post it. If you go back, you can see a bunch of their progression too. You see those OGs from 3 years ago, and all their flying is terrible too. But guess what? Now they're amazing, and they do things that you just can't even explain. Like, you're just like, oh, this defeats physics in every manner. Like, how? And it's really just flying and keep going and keep posting.
We had a channel come on, Puso Studios, and he's a great channel. He came on and showed his very first video, live stream with his wife. And it was just what a first video should be, awful. And then Canadian Drone Hub showed his first live stream with him and Kim on there. And they were both looking like they were in prison, just staring at the screen. Like, that was it was, but it's in every genre, isn't it? Wherever you start, there is a progression. You don't usually come on knowing right away how to be a superstar. And maybe you never learn how, but but there is some progression.
I've been streaming and talking to the camera in just this hobby for the last, like I said, almost 2 years. And it's still one of those things, like, I was getting ready to come on this evening, and I was just like, oh, I have to go on and do a live stream, like, because I always get super nervous because, it's putting yourself out there. It's putting more of who you are into the world that, in a live stream especially, anything could happen. Who knows what's going to happen right now? One time I remember I was streaming, and one of the horses, because I was out streaming out with the horses, and one of the horses like just had a moment and ended up breaking the fence. And I'm sitting there like, I had to close the live stream because I'm running to go and chase the horses to keep them out of the road. And it's one of those things that, and all that happened was, there was a fly and he kicked and something crazy happened. And then all of a sudden, just all of the pieces. And that's what It's like live streams are so unpredictable. Not only that, but you have all sorts of weird random things happen where you can't control it. Like one time I had set up a live stream and I couldn't get my computer or phone or anything to even log on.
Right.
And it's just like, all right, well, sorry, you guys, that you were stoked about doing the stream, and I was super nervous, and now I'm sitting here shaking because my anxiety is killing me, because not only am I not streaming and letting people down, but I was supposed to be streaming, and that makes me all nervous and ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, I went on, I decided I was going to, we streamed on Sunday, and I did Women of FPV, and I had Radgirl on, and we were, I started streaming, so hello everyone, I'm talking away, and all of a sudden I look up at the chat, it says, we can't hear you. And I was like, I'm never going to remember what I said, but I think it sounded good. It's now gone. So then I just
that was great practice. I'm so glad I got to practice that.
Just that one little thing, so learning this and then ever thinking that nothing's going to go wrong is ludicrous. Everything will go wrong because it's live.
Well, and it's forever, right? Like once it's on the YouTube, it's always on, especially when you do a live stream for like Val, you have control of this video. None of us else get an opinion of when it comes down or what's done. So I think that's the other intimidating thing is whatever you do on YouTube, it's staying on YouTube.
That's the scariest part about recording in general. Like that's one of the scary parts about recording with Rotor Riot, because somebody else is editing those videos.
Right.
While I do get the videos that I'm in, for the most part, I get to view them before they're put out and put in input and stuff like that. The very first one that I was in of theirs, I didn't put any input or anything. And then afterwards I was like, oh my God, I should have said something and made this like, it's so scary because somebody else is putting it together. And that's on YouTube forever.
Took it right back to what you were saying.
There we go. Sorry. That's live streaming for us.
Yeah. And like today, it was just like, we had a bunch of like backbeat and I was like, oh yeah, headphones. Everybody's got to have headphones on because we're talking while we're listening and,
Right. And so hopefully Radgirl will know how to come back in. But yeah, I just had to mute her for a little bit. So I muted you, Radgirl. Do you want me to unmute you now? There. Okay, KATchUL8r. Can you take over for me just for a couple minutes?
I can
My
try.
dog's crazy. I'll be right back. Sorry. Again, the live stream thing.
That's okay. I don't have her question list though, so I'm not going to be very useful. I mean, I don't know if there's any...
how about I ask you a question?
Okay, you can ask us questions, not just me. It has to be like
Okay, so for both of the girls that are in here, how long have you been flying? What got you into it?
2 months. Boyfriend and Chad Capper, 100% are what pushed me into it.
Capper is amazing, so I can see that. He's very motivational.
Yeah, he was pretty much like, why aren't you doing this? Have you even tried it? Listen to your boyfriend, go buy a drone, figure it out. And yeah, I've been hooked ever since.
What about you, Radgirl?
About 2 years, and my husband is the reason why I got into it. Like he just wants me to do everything with him, so he kind of pushed me into it. And back to what we were talking about girls not posting, and I was kind of that way. Like when I first started, I was just like, I don't want to post that. Like, what did I do? What did I do that was so great? And Mike was just really encouraging, and he was like, well, what does it matter? Like, we all started out kind of like just doing what you just did, but that's cool because that was your first time doing it. You got to show people. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I don't really think that's going to get me anywhere, but all right, I'll put it up there. And like you were saying, it's just having a nice record of what you did and how far you've come. So,
well, not only that, but if you sit there and you try to compare yourself when you're first starting to somebody who has put hours and hours and hours and hours and hours into the sticks, it's not a good comparison. It's like I go and fly with all of these top pilots and I sit there, I'm like, oh, I'm terrible. And they all look at me and they're like, well, Jamie, you've been flying for half the time as us. You're not terrible. You're just not there. You're just not this long into the hobby as we are. Because all of them say the same thing. They're just like, you're too hard on yourself because you compare yourself to us. And if you're not comparing yourself to anybody else but who you were yesterday, guess what? Now you're doing better than you were yesterday.
That's
Took
good.
the radio and you go out there and fly some batteries. Guess what? You're the better pilot than you were 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
I hope you're listening because you're Mr. Procrastination too, and you got to be flying more.
Who?
Who? You.
Ooh.
Cool.
Yeah. Anytime you pick up the radio, you get better. Even
Right.
if you're crashing, even if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I didn't do anything today. I didn't drill anything. I didn't practice anything. Even if all you do is go out and fly, you're going to be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's all it literally just takes. Like, you'll be smoother or even just more confident in your actual rig to be able to feel like you can do things that you couldn't do. Because now you're like, I understand how this is going to fall now, or I get how this is going to twist if I give it this much yaw now. Like, you just got to keep doing it. Keep going.
So really quick, guys, I want to say hello to people in the chat. We have Night Train FPV, Wakey RC, Max Air 420, Metro Drones. Hey, how you doing, darling? Stoner Trash FPV.
Yeah, my girl.
We have, let's see, Love My Drones. And we still have a bunch of our other guys that have to go up. Drumpool just came in, and he's a great FPVer. I love watching him. But he's been taking a lot of time off from FPV. So we'll have to see more of his flights. Oh, let's see. Guys, if I'm missing you, Michael Banny, of course. Love My Drones, of course. And if I'm missing anyone, it's very unintentional. So please make sure you come in and just say, hi, Rojo. Hey, how you doing? And that's our own Robert Stanton in there. So, hey, guys. Okay, we can go back. I just please don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I'm seeing everything you're saying. And Love My Drones, I agree. Comparison sucks. Because if you're comparing yourself to other people, I mean, either you're going to go, oh, wow, I'm so much better. And that's a fatal mistake also, right? Hey, Corey Mano.
That's like the best and the worst part about social media, though, is that it can be so inspirational, but at the same time, if you get into that comparison loop, it can be so demotivational. You can sit there and if you, in any hobby, in any aspect of your life, really, you can sit there and look at people's social media and it be a terrible thing, but you have to remember that that's everybody's highlight reel, you guys. You know, most people don't post the bad stuff on their channels. Most people aren't going to tell you when things are going terrible or anything like that, because that's not how it works. So if you're trying to compare anything you do in any aspect of your life to what you see on social media in general, just don't. Because you're thinking of all your bad shit and they're only posting their good shit. So if you were only thinking about your good stuff, would it really be that bad?
Yeah.
No.
Like, he even told me, he was like, you got to post your crashes. Everybody crashes, right? And so I was like, all right, you know, so.
Everyone loves the crashes. They don't care who's flying or how much experience they have, or if they're the best flyer in the world. Everyone, if someone goes, oh man, fatal crash, everyone's on that video. They love the crashes.
Look, I've seen Steele go and pick up his quad. He's had to do the walk of shame. So come on, you guys. When you've seen Steele and Schizo and them have to go and walk for their stuff, that's when it really clicks in your head. You're like, oh wow, you know. The first time Johnny, we were down in Atlanta and he ended up getting stuck in the top of this tree and couldn't get it out, and sitting there doing everything he could to get it out, and finally it falls down. And that's all I can think. Like, when I see all these amazing, because he's an amazing pilot, I'm not taking anything away from him in that, but that's when I see all the amazing videos, I think of that kid standing there with his quad stuck up in the top of that tree, just totally like, no. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're all human. This is all of us. Like, even the pilots who are making all the money or getting all of the everything, the people who are doing this like truly professionally, they're still crashing too. They're still slamming into walls and miscalculating distances and not giving enough throttle. You know, they're still pushing themselves, and that's how you get the good footage, but it's also how you do all that walking.
Yeah.
So tell me something. What convinced you to start flying? I mean, one day you had to pick up a quad or you had to see something. What was it that made you just decide, I have to get into this crazy sport?
So I was actually out hiking one day with my family, and we're out hiking, and we're not really like the family that does the let's stay on the trails kind of hiking. Like, we blaze trails. So we're staying there, and we're out, and we're having a good time, and we're out in all these like rock outcrops next to this river, and we're going around, and we get to this point that we have to like come around the corner of this outcrop, and it's super duper scary. It's super sketch. It's like a sheer cliff and then water below, so like it's gonna hurt and it's gonna be wet if you fall. Probably not gonna be able to get out of it anywhere near where we were at. You would have to go like further down the river.
Right.
And I get around the outcrop, and I get around it. Ooh.
There's kitty cats to be had.
He fell out of the window.
So I get around that outcrop, and it's literally like a dead end, and there's nowhere further to go. It's not even worth going around it, because it's literally just like rock wall. You don't even get like a cool, awesome view or nothing like that. And I remember that was the moment I sat there and I was like, man, it'd be really nice to be able to like see around this corner before I put my life at risk and see that it's not something I want to do. And I remember seeing like the Mountain Dew commercial where they're like flying through the woods, and it, you know, it's like Star Wars, and you're just like, oh, that's amazing. I remember seeing that, and I was like, well, let me look into what drones are. And I started looking into them, and I was like, I'm not really into like the big Phantoms. They're too big. I need something that I can throw in my pack. And I found the Mavics in Kickstarter. And I was just like, well, this is really cool, but I don't want to like jump into Kickstarter, because, you know, it's Kickstarter. Lots of terrible things happen with your money in Kickstarter. And I was like, so I need to find something kind of like this that's small enough to carry in my bag. And then it sort of just like turned into mini quads. And after doing a little bit of research, I went up to my local Target, and I got a Sky Zone, or a Sky Viper.
Yeah.
It was like $100, the one that had the camera on it. And I was like, let me see if I can fly this before I like invest a whole bunch of money into any of the other stuff. Because at that point I was still like, I hadn't really looked into the building side of it. I was still looking at like bind and flies and all the equipment and the Mavics. I was still looking at them. I was like, I'm not really trying to spend $1,200, but I'll throw down $100 and see how this flies. And that was the moment I got up in the air, and I did get up and I flew around a little bit, and I was just like, oh, wait a minute. I think I'm going to fall in love with this. And then I ordered a bunch of like little tiny, like, I'm trying to remember what they were, like HX100s or something like that. From
like little whoops.
No, they weren't whoops. They were supposed to be little like bind and flies from Banggood. And I got a couple of those, and they were just supposed to be like, look at them like line of sight drones. So I tore off all the covers of them, and I put FPV cameras, like the smallest ones I could find. I soldered those in, and I was sitting there like, my Sky Viper, I got the cheaper version because like just the one that didn't have the camera was better weighted and moved faster. So I got a couple of those, and I ripped the tops off of them and put little FPV cameras on. And I had like a big set of terrible box goggles. And it was one of those things. It was like, we started flying the little guys, and that's when like the building came in, and I was like, oh yeah, like that. One of the, just like what he has on screen right there. Like, we would sit there and we tore all the stuff off of the top, and we would be just a couple of little solder points, and boom, all of a sudden we have FPV. And then we got into building, and like right after I started building 5-inch quads, my brother had gifted me a wizard that he had, and I had just gotten my own. Yeah,
Right.
very much like what you have.
Very excited to show you and proud of his wizard. He just got it going.
But my brother gifted me a wizard, and I had just like gotten an old used radio from one of our friends, and I had just ordered a set of goggles. Like, I had finally had my own stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna fly for real now, instead of like the 1 or 2 packs I've gotten to fly here and there. And my house got broken into, and all of my quad stuff got stolen. Like $6,000 worth of computer or worth of photography equipment got stolen. My laptop didn't, and my GoPro didn't, but my TV did. Like, a whole bunch of stuff got stolen out of my house. And it was one of those things, like, at that moment I was like, nope, I'm not investing again. I'm not gonna fly. I'm done, this and that. And then my friend Hector, he came to visit a few weeks later, and Third Eye FPV. He came to visit a few weeks later. He goes, Jamie, what happened? Why aren't you flying? And I was like, oh, all my stuff got stolen. And he was like, well, let's build you a quad. So we got together a bunch of parts, and I was going to use these like old crusty Sunny Skies that we had laying around. And he's sitting there and he's messing with them. And he goes, you're not using these. He goes and he gets out of his bag a set of the V1 steel Silkies. And it was just one of those things from that point forward, building that quad. It was just one of those things that from there, it was like, this is my life now. I'm just gonna fly mini quads, and that's gonna be my biggest thing for a while, I guess.
So it sounds like an addiction. We have a special school for that.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing that breaks the addiction. If you quit, you're just a quitter. Like, once you're in, there's no way you're leaving it. It's like in your blood forever.
Well, I tried to explain to people, I'm like, it's like a lot of other things that you become very passionate about quickly. This is a drug. Like, this is 100% FPV it's healthy, and it gets you out with people. It gets you out doing things. It gets you outside, but it is incredibly expensive, and definitely one of those things that you will, if you don't have self-control, you'll get to a point that you'll just be like, oh, I guess I'm not going to eat because instead I want to buy ESCs.
Right. Yeah, popcorn is cheap. Just eat popcorn and sunflower seeds. And
ramen.
You sit there,
Ramens are cheap.
Ramen, yeah.
You sit there and you're like, what's the cheapest meal I can make so that I can order the flight controller that I need? Like, how am I going to eat for the next 2 weeks so that I can get more packs in? Like, it really is an addiction. And I mean, I personally haven't been to the point where like I've done that, but I know guys who have literally been like, yeah, I just decided I wasn't going to go grocery shopping for the next 2 weeks because I'm going to fly. And I'm like, yeah, I have a family. They definitely come first. So groceries are a super high priority in my house, but I definitely I feel it. When I don't get to fly for a couple days, I'll be sitting there. Like, I didn't get to fly over the last 2 months. I've probably flown 10 packs just because of different issues that I've been having with my quads. And it's one of those things I'm really sitting here and I'm just like, oh God, why am I not flying? Like, I need to get that release, that mental let go of all of the nonsense, because when I'm up in the air, I'm not down here.
That's what Chronix was saying, though, makes this hobby so nice, is it takes such a certain level of intellect to do it. So that's where everyone's more similar. And I find that people tend to be nicer in this hobby compared to some of the other ones I did. And you get a lot less drama because you can't just pick up a drone. You have to have an understanding of movement and physics a little bit. And you have to be able to comprehend, soldering and building and actually flying it. So it's like you're getting like-minded people. And everyone I've met so far, even at that event, everyone seems to be cut from a very similar cloth. And you're going to get different cultures, different people, but everyone's very similar.
That's something I've definitely noticed as well. It's something Zoe and I were talking about this weekend, how this hobby literally transverses all races, all age, all cultures. Every profession is in this hobby. Every type of human being you can imagine is in this hobby. And when you go to events, I love going to events because you go to events and it's like this large group of human beings that in other circumstances would not be hanging out together. They're all sitting here and they're all laughing and having a good time and like sharing food, and everybody loves everybody. And it's just one of those things that it's just like, I love this hobby for that. Everybody can be involved if you're willing to actually think about what you're doing here. Because it does require, like you said, it does require intelligence. It requires you to at least have a working knowledge of physics, like at least a working knowledge of it. You don't have to know specific things, but you have to understand that, you know, things come down and weight is a real thing because gravity, and, you know, it's awesome. I love this hobby. Out of all of the hobbies I've done, I love hooping. It's definitely a huge part of my life, but the people I've met in this hobby are 99% amazing. Like some of the best human beings that are the most skilled. That's the other thing, is everybody that flies has this myriad of other skills that just, you wouldn't ever even think, you know, like so many of them play instruments and so many of them used to skate. That's the other thing, is that's what FPV gives you, is that adrenaline rush that, like, I used to race motorcycles and I don't like doing that because, you know,
things break on your body and not on your quad.
I have a body that I don't like getting rashed up, and I don't like being hurt. You know, I don't like being in pain, but I can have the same adrenaline rush, the same just like, that I would get from flying, but my body's not in danger. I can push it. And the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to mess up my quad. I mean, I do have a few scars from my quad. Don't get me wrong, but that was a fun story. They're good scars. It was literally just like a random freak thing because that's electronics have gremlins, and I had flown like 5 packs that morning. Totally fine. I was standing on my porch barefoot like I normally fly. I was standing out there having a good time, just flying, whatever. Go to put my 6th pack on, go to arm it, go to take off like I had every other time, and just one of those little electrical gremlins came up and was like, nope. And my quad flippity flopped back into my ankle. Ooh. And it went really deep. Like it's a good scar. But I went inside and I cleaned up my ankle and changed the props on my quad and went and flew the rest of my batteries with.
You didn't want the extra weight of your skin and blood on it? Like, you didn't think it would help you do some cool tricks?
You know, that was one of the things I was really thinking. I was like, every other hobby, if you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, you know, you're better. And
I'm just going to say, note to self, buy boots. I'm just going to make sure. Because
look, that was a long time ago, and I still fly barefoot. So I obviously didn't, well, it's not that I didn't learn that lesson. I just, I don't. I take my props off when I'm messing with stuff.
My legs, so I know.
Oh yeah, and hey, I've seen some nice good scars on some people from quads, and I'm just like, and you're still flying. You know why? Because you're totally addicted to this. Like,
put it down, let's go.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like with me when I got hit, it was really just one of those things. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go and swap the props and put a fresh battery on and see if it does it again. And then guess what? I flew the rest of my packs without a single problem.
Yeah.
It didn't do any more crazy nonsense. I hadn't swapped my props before that, so it was literally just like random electrical gremlin, like, haha, I'm gonna bite you. And you just have to.
I figure it's okay. You hit yourself, move on. Now you know what it feels like. That's it.
That hurt.
It hurts. Ow.
Okay. Radgirl's been really quiet.
I'm just taking in everything that she's saying. I'm just happy to be here and just hanging out. So,
that's your idea. Hey, for all those that I gave a mod to, we just have a few rules in here. Let me go over them real quick so that it just cleared up. We're really good about all of the channels that come in here. There's no what do you call problems? You know, we don't take animosity. Yeah. We're just really good about keeping everything really chill, and that way you're chill and we're chill. Also, no racist type remarks of any kind. And you think, why would you have to say that, Valerie? Believe me, I've learned I have to say it. Also, we don't talk religion. We don't talk politics. Anything that divides our community, we're really not going to talk about. unless it's politically about drones. And then we kind of skate around that topic a lot. So anyway, there you go. Those are the rules. Oh, and let's see. No, that other rule I won't add. It was to be nice to Valerie all the time.
We're already nice to you. We would never.
I have this community is a great community. Now, oh my God. Okay, now is Wakey, RC's dog, who comes in and he's always growling at me. I don't know what the hell.
I know, it's super weird. I had to kick Ella out of here because for some reason she thinks there's something in my basement that she keeps growling at, and I'm like, shh. I'm like, go away. Like, stop. I'm so afraid she's just gonna start barking at nothing. Like,
that's what sage and like some holy water, and maybe keep that door locked for a little longer.
Do not go down to check to make sure. Because that's how the horror movies, all of them start. Hello.
Yeah.
Ladies, could you say hi in the chat so people can get your channels?
Love my drone. Share Jamie's link for her again.
I appreciate that because I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, I love my drones has been putting it in. Oh, Nell growls at everyone. There it goes.
Thank you, love my drones.
Oh, you're so
You're the best.
He is, and he is one heck of a flyer. From when he started to what he does now, he's just awesome.
Jamie, there's actually some super cool people I've met in here. Val will know the guy that does the underwater drone stuff.
That's
I don't know.
And there is a giveaway for the Gladius that I will be posting in if I remember how to do it. Because
Val, who's the underwater drones?
Huh?
Who does the underwater?
And Curtis, I'm trying to see if I can figure out how to do this where it doesn't disrupt everything I'm doing. Okay.
If you tell me, I can pull it up and I'll do it for you.
Okay.
Curtis Dart.
Curtis Dart, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have him.
Yes.
I'll pull it up.
Okay, really quick. This is one of his vids he asked me to share tonight. Okay. And then there is a giveaway for the Gladius. Where is it? Oh, interested in underwater drones, enter the giveaway. So okay. So
I'll be coming back through here and looking through the live
I'm
chat.
I'm gonna do that one on Facebook, Jamie.
Okay.
Awesome, I appreciate that. Side note, I'm gonna die here in like 8%.
Okay.
Well, I had it plugged in, but I have to have my headphones on, and because iPhones are, terrible now, you can't do both.
Right. Try taking out your headphones if it'll work. I don't know that it will. Okay, that's the giveaway, guys. So I'm only going to post it once, so grab it while you can. And who said they were leaving? Was that Jamie?
Jamie, yeah, she's running out of battery.
Well, is there a bunch of crazy echoes right now?
No.
Because I took my headphones out.
Okay.
So I can plug my phone back in.
I think it only echoes with Zoom if you're listening to the YouTube at the same time.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I can't do that, so.
Oh, there you go. So, Jim, hey, Michael McRit. Oh, God. See? Ranger, stop. He talks to me a lot. Uh-oh. There we go. So, anyway, so it sounds like you just completely got addicted into the hobby. And then you introduced your husband into the hobby, or your boyfriend or significant other?
Yeah, my husband and my brother, shortly after I got my first one, they both jumped as well. And my husband and my brother, they have been since we were kids. And they got into it, and both of them were super into it for a while. Like I said, much more into the race scene. I did a decent amount of racing when I first started flying. And then I really I didn't have the time to commit to race schedules. So I I couldn't go to races every Sunday, and it bummed me out. I started flying more freestyle, and that's when I was like, ooh, this is a lot different because I can do what I want, and I can go and do what everybody else is doing. I can make whatever I want with it. Creative in me was just like, no more racing, girl. You're gonna do freestyle from now on, because this is something that.
So Jamie Ann,
I can run.
It's not your what do you call it? I can't hear you as well right now. It is not the volume, it's stuttering on you.
Is it lagging for her too, or is it me? Because I thought we were lagging.
No, she's lagging really bad.
Oh, okay. I just told Rich it was us and to get off the internet.
That's okay. He doesn't need the internet.
I was watching the live stream.
LittleStellarFox. Yeah, okay. It should work out. I just sometimes it gets kind of crazy on here. Okay. Hey D90, how you doing?
I know I was in one time where we had like 10 different people that were part of it, and that made it like super ridiculous when it came to like transitioning between who was talking and all that kind of stuff, just depending on how you had it set up. It's like the more people that get involved, it gets a little sketchy. Another great thing about live streams.
That's
one nice thing about Zoom is that we use their broadband, not ours, so that even if you don't have great internet, it should still be pretty solid. But sometimes it is like everything else. It's not great.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, great stream.
Yes, I'm looking where we are. Okay. So what's the next thing you're going to do after this contest, do you think? What's the next big thing for you?
Well, depending on how the contest goes, I intend on doing more of that. I have a bunch of stuff going on right now that I can't really talk about yet.
Okay.
But I have a couple of big announcements to make that I have to wait a little bit of time before I do. But you can expect that for, the first time ever, there's going to be some LittleStellarFox merchandise coming out and a couple of other things. But I have a couple of really huge announcements to make that a lot of people can have ideas about what might be going on, but I can't make any sort of like official announcement quite yet. There's still a couple of legal pieces that have to be handled before.
So all the things going on with you right now are positive things, is what we're talking about. Great things.
Say anything to the map. Oh yeah. It's all upward trajectory, you guys. Everything that is going to be happening is not only beneficial to me because it is, but realistically, it's a good push for the female community.
Very good.
And it's something that we've had lots of great, amazing representation through the girls that are well known right now. But there are a few things going to be going on that allow me to do a bit more of that. So I'm really excited about what is. I'm trying like how I can word this without ruining any of the stuff going on. But basically, a lot of things are going to be happening in the next couple of months. And after I get to talk about them, it'll make more sense why I'm being vague, because it's
so when you can talk about them, do you want to come back and tell us?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime, but I would love to hear what's going on, when you're ready to talk about it. I'd love to talk with you about it and all the stuff you're doing, because I think you really are pushing FPV for women forward, and that's an exciting place to be right now, I think.
It just sort of happened because it was one of those things I didn't realize it. A couple of like guys that have been following me for a while, they're like, you know, you're really like the forefront on this pushing girls within the hobby type of thing. And I was like, no, you know, there's all these other great girls that have been, they do all like the tech stuff and they do all of the PR stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm just flying. And then it's like, it's really come to the point that it's like, oh, I really am like making a difference. And I really have gotten to a point that I have the opportunities to like this particular competition. A year ago, I wouldn't have been able to put it together like how it has come together now. But because I've finally gotten to the point that I've formed relationships with companies, I've formed personal relationships with a ton of pilots, you know, the role that I play within the community, how I try to be helpful and I try to be positive and I try to really make this a nice place for people. Like I try to make this something that you would want to be part of. And granted, I'm not gonna lie, there are definitely moments where I'm not the nicest human being. But
say it's not so. Say it's not so. Say Stella, it's all right. I mean, we can't always be, you know,
exactly.
Sometimes it's about the drive to get where we're going.
If you're not being a jerk to me, I'm not gonna be a jerk to you.
Right.
I'm a big believer in the golden rule, you know, treat others how you want to be treated type of thing. But it's really starting to like become really community for the females in this community, and it wasn't something that I really anticipated happening. It just sort of did, and here we are, doing what I can to make this a better place for not just the female pilots but also the male pilots. You know, I don't want it to just be a thing where people are like, oh, Jamie doesn't. Like, I really genuinely, anybody who wants to fly, I want them to fly. You know, regardless of any of the other nonsense. If it's something you enjoy and you to give you a little pep. If you don't want to deal with the nonsense, just, you know, step away for a second. But realistically, like, I just want everybody who enjoys this to do it. And I want to show other people why we love it. Like, why are so many of us, even though this is a relatively small community overall, why are so many of us addicted to playing with these toys? Like, why do so many of us spend every weekend going and flying? You know, every opportunity, like, the people who don't do it don't understand. And I want to be able to help bridge that gap where it's like, hey, this is why. Like, do you see how much fun we're having? Even in the frustrating moments where it's, you know, have all of your stuff is broken and everything's terrible, you can still turn to this community and not only get help from basically anywhere. There are so many people willing to help you, but get the inspiration and motivation to keep going. And a lot of hobbies aren't like that. People are so competitive that it's just like, oh, you're out? Whatever, who cares? But so many people in this hobby, if you mention, you're like, yeah, I'm thinking about like getting out. They're just like, wait, no, why? What do you mean? How can I help you? How can I make it what you say? It's just like, don't do that. I want you to keep doing this. And I love that because it's not like that in a lot of hobbies. A lot of hobbies, right, people don't care, but it really is like the community in this hobby is amazing. Even the people that like have problems with each other, they're all good people. They're all amazing human beings that like I said, incredibly skilled, intelligent people that are grown-ups that play with toys. So
yeah, you know, I've met all kinds of people since I've been on YouTube, but I think the droning community is one of the best communities. It's not like we don't have our moments because everyone has their moments, and we just have to remember everyone has them. And
I mean, you get a group of people together. There's gonna be people that don't like people and business things that go wrong, and you know, friends that used to be friends and now aren't friends, and like that's gonna be in every single situation. But realistically, while I have received
more hate in this community than I have in any other community, I've also received the most support and met the most amazing people in this community.
Right.
Like, all of the negative stuff that I deal with, because I do deal with a lot of really negative stuff, and sometimes it's really hard to like want to stay. All of that nonsense is easy to push aside when I sit there and I get a message from some girl that's like, hey, you're the reason why I want to fly. Please don't stop. Like, you're the reason why I do this. I want to fly like you. And I'm like, I don't fly that good, but my heart, oh my God. Like, that's why it's worth it. Because those people that really are in it and really enjoy like the content I put out make all the nonsense just not matter anymore. And I'm just like, those are angry, bitter people who have nothing better to do with their life. Let me focus on these happy, positive people that, you know, push me to push myself.
You and I both know, LittleStellarFox, there could be 9 people that love you to death, but that one person who doesn't is the one we tend to focus on. But I'm getting to the point now in my life, because maybe it's my age, I don't know, where I go, yeah, no, I'm not dealing with that. Your monkeys, your circus, you go over there, and I'm going this way. Because that's what else can we do? The negative is going to be negative. Can't get away from it. But just keep flowing in a forward trajectory is what we need to do.
Exactly. I've gotten to the point that with the negative aspects, either I totally ignore it because some of it you just have to, or I like to just like make a joke about it and be like, oh, you want a potato for some of that salt? Like, I'm sorry that for whatever reason I am where I am, but I've put in the time. I've put in the effort. I've put in a lot of driving. I've put in a lot of man hours. Like, this isn't something that just magically fell into my lap. It does require a lot of work.
Sweat and blood.
And there is that little bit where you just have to be in the right place at the right time. And honestly, if I was not me, it wouldn't have been the way that it was, because your personality shapes your relationships with other human beings. And
it does.
And realistically, I've been told, like, I know that my skills are not on par with a lot of the guys that I fly with, but I'm really helpful and I'm friendly and I smile a lot, and I do everything I can to help keep people not only like in FPV, but overall, like, I do a lot to try to keep people happy and to make other people's lives better. And that's why I am where I am, because no, I'm not the best female pilot ever, but I am super supportive and I am super helpful, and I do genuinely care about the people that reach out to me. I'm that girl that I do my best to answer every message, every comment, all of that stuff, because it matters to the people who are posting them. You know, if somebody sends me a question, and you know, I'll get questions sometimes where it's like build questions and stuff like that, and I'll answer, even though I'm very honest, and I'll be like, hey, I'm not the best person to ask this, but let me direct you to some people that will help you, because there are things I build my own stuff. I know how to solder. I can direct you on how to solder. But when it comes to things like programming stuff in Betaflight, I've flown Betaflight for 3 months. So it's one of those things that it's like, I'm not the person to ask about Betaflight, but
Betaflight scares me.
Yeah, Betaflight is extremely intimidating, especially like we were talking about this while I was down at Rotor, right, about firmware and stuff like that. And when it comes to beginners getting into the hobby, Betaflight is incredibly intimidating. Like, there's CLI films. You have to use 2 different apps. Have you ever tried to map a motor in Betaflight? Like, I sat there this weekend and watched Josh Bardwell try to help me map motors, and he still struggled. And it's one of those things that it's like, Betaflight is incredibly intimidating for anybody starting out. When it comes to people first starting out, I'm kind of like, hey, Flight 1, it's plug and play. And the the GUI is so easy. It's just like, do I have one of these receivers? I do. Do I want to fly like normal? I do. And that's how easy race flight is. Well, flight 1, it's not race flight anymore. But that's another part of learning it, because beta flight, you know, some would argue that beta flight is the better of the firmwares, but it does require you to learn, like actually learn a lot about the tech side of it, because you go into that GUI and you're just standing there, you're like, all right, well, none of my stuff is flying. I don't really know what to do. And whereas in flight 1, it's just like, I'm going to hit the motors tab and I want to reverse this motor. So all I have to do is hit this little button. That's not how it is in beta flight. You have to like do all sorts of crazy shit to make things work. So that can
Yeah, I think that's when I started buying my stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. I got a hold of some of the guys who I know of flight, you know, and I got my Mamba stack, and I got my BTX, and I got all that stuff. And Kim's been teaching me. We worked on it today, soldering. I haven't built one. I haven't flown one. I'm at the start. But I went to Roger Palooza this year. It's a Canadian drone hub. I had some of us come up. And I watched the flying, and I wore the goggles of one of the flights. And it was just so exciting. And I've been talking to FPVers forever. Well, for the past year, right? And regular drone flyers. And nothing was really catching until I went and saw it. Because I don't see a lot of people flying around here. So now I'm spending, I don't know what, on all these parts, but I got beta flight. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
What have I done?
I know, because I've seen
help
people.
you though. Like that's the one thing. Rich does all my beta flight, and I will always admit that. Like I am lost at it, and I've done basic computer programming stuff. Like I used to design stuff on video games and stuff, like maps, like online, not high level. And I can't do beta flight. Like as of right now, I'm like, this is enough. I'm 2 months in. Let me figure this out. I like the building. I like the rest. But Rich tunes my quads for me, and I'm totally fine with letting him have that one aspect of helping me with every build.
So if you do flight 1, can you still use your Tarantus?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that. It's the firmware on your stack, though. Like, you know, your Mamba?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's the firmware for that.
Yeah.
But on the positive, if you're starting with beta flight, it is a great opportunity for you to learn how to do it and not get spoiled with how easy flight 1 is. Because flight 1 really is, it's ridiculously easy. And they've done that for a reason. But if you're starting with beta flight, like I said, there are quite a few pilots who will tell you that beta flight is the superior firmware. It just is different. It requires you to learn different things.
Yeah.
And if you're starting there, you're not, like I said, you won't get spoiled with how easy the other one is. I did the other way around, and it's just like, man, I really wish I would have like learned beta flight while I was doing this.
Yeah, I think
at some point, you're gonna have to know all of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to know it at some point, but I'm not sure if now is the time I needed to learn it, because I'm learning
It's like the last step after building a quad is to tune it. But you have to, like, it's not a bad idea to watch videos and get an understanding, but you've got Kim and Roger and lots of people that are willing to help you, Val. You're not alone.
Oh.
Yeah, see, and that's something. You have hands-on help.
Right.
You know, and that's something with me. Like I've been able, you know, to go and have like Drew and them and Aaron Ciatti down in Atlanta. I have them help me with this stuff because it's one of those things. Like I don't tune my quads, and I've never lied about that. When I was doing 4S, because I did recently also switch to 6S. When I was doing 4S, I had just started getting into understanding like what tuning was doing while I was flying. But I'm very straightforward with the fact that I run defaults unless I have something because I don't want to be blowing up motors because I put the D term too high, or I don't want to be blowing up my stack because of some stupid thing I did with my rate curve or something, because I don't know quite what I'm doing. But I will gladly, and of course, when I switched to 6S, that's also when I switched to beta flight, which is probably one of the other reasons why I was just kind of like, tuning is scary. But if I can have these people who are very good at this help me, you know, why not do that? Like,
Right.
it's not something I understand, but I can watch them do it and it helps me understand what's happening. But the fact is they're helping me save money and equipment. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'll be honest, if I'm not a big fan of building. If I had somebody who was like, hey, Jamie, I'll be your pit crew and I'll just build your quads for you and help keep you in the air that way, and all you have to worry about is flying and making videos and putting out content, I would be like, sweet. You can definitely be my pit crew and I will just fly and make videos and make content. But you have to learn how to do all of it. You have to be able to solder your own stuff, because you'll be out in the field and you'll blow a motor and still have 6 packs, and you'll be like, all right, well, real quick, I'm going to swap this motor so that I can keep flying today because I'm in Orlando for 3 days and I really want to get the footing spot. You know,
I've said that so many times to Jamie. Like, it's not really your quad if someone else is building it and doing it. Like, you have to build it to understand it and be more in tune with it and to fix it. And like, really, you need to be able to fix your own stuff. It's not really, you're not all in if you're not doing your own builds and fixing your own stuff.
Exactly. So as much as I am not a fan of doing it, I still do, because then it's mine. Then it's what I've built. Then it's what I've created. I understand it's like when you're in biology, like advanced biology, and you learn how all the pieces of your body work, and you're like, oh, now it makes sense why things happen. Not only that, but when things mess up, you can troubleshoot a lot easier if you understand what's happening within the stack. If you understand where connections are going where, and you see, this one's a little bit burnt up, maybe that's what's happening. Otherwise, you don't know. You should, as much as I hate it personally, and I would love for somebody else to just be like, here you go, Jamie. It's not practical, and it's not how you have to do it. You have to learn to do it yourself, because, you know, you sit here, you want to stay in the air, you have to fix it.
Mike and I just started messing with tunes on our quads, and normally he just went by like the first video he watched and, you know, like, okay, this is how you do it. And he was like, we didn't want to mess with like the D or the I or the P or anything like that. But lately we've been watching tuning videos and experimenting with that. And it's been really helping, you know, the smoothness and everything and the control of the quads. So it's definitely a little scary at first, like you said.
Which ones are you doing, Radgirl? I think you mentioned it last night, which PIDs you guys are actually using, or your hubby was using.
So I think before the RC rate, I think we were using like 100, and then the super rate, I think was at, well, his were different, but mine was at like 78, and then we were using like 40% expo. But lately we watched a Wild Willie video, and he was talking about how to get his videos like nice and like smooth, and so we went and switched our rates to what he recommended in the one video, and it is a lot smoother. The only thing that I don't really like about the rates he recommended is the pitch. It's just too slow for me. So today we went back in and I kind of tweaked it a little bit on the pitch. But you know, it's just nice to like experiment with other people's rates and, you know, just see what works and what doesn't, and you can kind of tweak them to how you might like them.
And that's what I was doing when I was still on 4S, when I was in Flight 1, because they have presets set up. I would sit there and I would pick presets and see what was going on, and I would tweak them so that they would be a little bit more me, because, you know, like the schizo preset on Flight 1 changes a lot, for one, because he'll go from having like the slowest stick movements to the fastest stick movements and then back and forth. That's just how he does. But it was one of those things, like I would pick one of the presets that they have loaded into Flight 1, and then I would go in and I would fiddle with things just a little bit and be like, this is what this does. This is what this does. And now that I'm on 6S, it's super terrifying, because it's like most of the rates and stuff that people talk about in the videos, when you put them into the 6S, it just doesn't do the same thing.
And that was another thing we were worried about too, because we fly like a 2-inch and a 3-inch as well, and we were like, well, are these rates gonna like transfer like to smaller quads too, and like, are we gonna mess something up there? And so we're just kind of like, I don't know, experimenting a little bit. Hopefully we don't, you know, put any quads in danger.
And I think if you guys are just tweaking them like little bits at a time, it shouldn't be too bad. I remember, you know, it's like, oh, somebody told me in one of my streams, they were just like, you should raise this by this much and this and that. I'm like, well, the thing about that is that you don't know how I fly. You don't know the weight or configuration of my quad, because all of that stuff plays into your rates. Like if you have a super heavy quad, like let's say Willie's quad is super duper heavy, but you fly a light quad, his rates are going to be garbage on your quad, because it's not similar. Like he'll have something because of how heavy his quad is going quicker, and then you'll try to do it with your super lightweight guy, and all of a sudden you're doing like 100 flips because his is set up specifically for how he moves the stick and how heavy his quad is because of how it responds. So it's a lot. Tuning is a lot, and I'm really, really, really fortunate that when it comes to tuning, I have people like Aaron and Drew and all the guys down in Orlando. Like I'm so fortunate to have those guys to be able to sit there and like walk me through it and explain to me while they're doing it, like, hey, this is what we're doing here. And then it's like, it makes sense that you're considered the corner. And if I don't want it that squishy, I call it squishy a lot. If I don't want it that squishy, now I know what to do to bring it back so that it's more touchy and it's more sharp. So it's been a really fun learning experience, again, because switching to 6S was one of those things that it was just like, oh, this is a lot different and I'm terrified everything blows up. But it's been fun relearning how to do the little bit that I was finally learning how to do with tuning. It's something I would love to get more into. It's just like you were saying, it is intimidating. I mean, and all the factors play into each other. It's not a one-size-fit-all deal. Like you can't just sit there and be like, I'm going to put these rates on all of my quads now, unless they're all 5 inches and weigh relatively the same and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I brought Louis P. Floyd on. He works with CNY Drones, a nonprofit, and he works with kids and adults and helps them build and learn about drones and where drones are going in the future. And he also builds everything he uses. And he came on my channel one day and he wanted to build a small whoop. I said, come on. And we were doing great till we got to beta flight. And he was explaining it like it was just not a big deal. I'm just looking at it going, holy hell. How I'll never, no. I don't even know where you went. And he's also a teacher, so he got into a lot of theory. And we call him Louis Puddin because he always says, if you can fly great, the proof is in the pudding. Put the video up and show me, right? So he's one of those guys. But he's a great guy, but he understands beta flight. He so totally lost me. So yeah, I am very worried about that piece.
Some of it is just like, until you've done it a bunch of times, it just doesn't make sense, you know? And then like I had mentioned before, you do one of those CLI dumps and you just look at that and first you feel like you're some sort of hacker. You're like, haha, look what I can do. And then like Katrina was saying, you know, I designed video games in college. Like I several like full length working video games with graphics, everything. So it's one of those things that when I look at beta flight and I'm just like, oh my God, why can't I do this? It makes me feel so dumb because most tech things I don't have issues with like that. Like most stuff I'm, you know, like in my family, I'm the person they're like, Jamie, how do I do this? How do I fix this? You know, my husband, oh my God, he's one of those people who's just like, you need to do this because it involves using a computer. And it's not, he just doesn't care about that kind of stuff. And it's just one of those things that for me to sit there and go into a program, a computer program, and look at it and just be like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. It's kind of like the amount of coding I've done. And for that to be like beta flight is my kryptonite, where I'm just like, what do I
nemesis.
do? Like, I can make a video game with bosses and like random sprouting people, and I do all the coding, but I can't figure out how to like make motor 1 into motor 2. Like, even with 100 tutorials on the internet, like what is wrong with me? But it really is. It's just, it's doing it over and over again and getting comfortable with the fact that, you know, even the professionals, when it comes to tuning, even the professionals sit there for a whole day with all of their batteries and fly and then bring it in and tweak and then fly and then bring it in and tweak. Like, I remember sitting there with Schizo one day, and no joke, the whole day we were flying, that's what he did. And he does that most days that he goes flies. Like, he really is one of those people that is always chasing the perfect tune. But he literally just sits there and he'll like fly a pack, and then he's hooked up back to his little tablet and he's changing this and he's moving this a little bit and moving that. And I'm just like, man, I just stick with defaults because I just want to fly.
He's saying a whole different language going through his mind. And you're like, what are you saying? Like, how did you know? What is the things and whys? And I get it.
It's really one of those things. I'm like, well, that was because I'll be in the goggles and I'll be like, wow, it's flying so beautifully. And he'll come in and he'll be like, nah, I need to do this and this and this, and then it'll be perfect. And then it's the same thing the next pack. I'm just like, oh, this is unreal. How did you do it? He's just like, oh, it's so shaky right in this one little, and I'm like, shaky where? Like, everything is perfect. And he's just like, nope. And he hooks it back up, changing this, moving that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, whoa, that makes that look even more scary. I'm just gonna stick to defaults because I just want to fly.
Right, at some point you gotta fly.
Yep.
You know, and I think I like what KATchUL8r FPV said. He goes, it's all right to tune your quad, but when you're tuning more than flying, there's a problem. See, that's what I'm afraid I'm going to be. I'm going to be in beta flight going, what the holy heck am I doing here? I mean,
you don't have to tune at the beginning, though. Run the stock, see how you do, get a feel for it.
Default.
Yeah, run the default. That's it. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, because Centroid's here telling me I'm far ahead.
Especially if you're just getting into flying and it's going to be something that, let's be totally real, you're probably going to crash a bunch of times within like 30 feet of your body. There's really no reason to mess with tuning a whole bunch. Just get the idea of being in the air. However, I would highly recommend to anybody who's first starting out, skip over self-level. Do not do self-leveling in any way. Start in full acro from the very beginning, because you're going to be walking a bunch no matter what. There's no reason to do it twice. Like, there's no reason to start in self-leveling and then have to relearn how to fly because you've been taught all of these terrible habits that don't work when you're flying in self-leveling. Taking
that actually helped me.
That's all I said. I wanted to start right off in acro, and people say maybe stabilize mode, maybe go, and I'm like, no, it's acro.
Don't put it on the switch.
Yeah, I just crash burn until it stays in the air.
Yep. Just learn how a big huge thing that people learn in self-leveling, and then they'll go to take off. And because now the quad pitches like in all directions, they can't take off and they can't land. So they'll keep auto level on a switch so that they can take off and land. And it's like, no. Just from the very beginning, start in acro so you learn how to take off and land that way. And then when you're ready to throw in those rolls and you're ready to throw in the cool flippy dippies and all the cool fun stuff, you don't have to relearn how to fly. You already know how to get off the ground and how to get back on it. You get up in the air and you can do all the fun stuff you want. Just go higher. I mean,
I don't disagree with that, but I think there's different learning styles though. And for me, I'm very hands-on. Like, I hate sim. I'll do it, but I hate it. I don't think it's the same. I'd rather be flying. I don't find them similar enough for me personally, but it does help. But I learned in level mode, and I did like 6 packs level mode, 6 packs of acro trainer, and then I went into acro. And it was just because I'd never flown anything. And I found for me, it helped me learn a little bit about the throttle control on the quad and how it's going to respond. But I didn't sit in it for months, which is what I think you're looking more at, is like if you're sitting in it for a long time, you're developing really bad habits. I did like 2 days of 3 packs each or something like that, right? I know it was only like 6 packs in setting before I switched to acro.
KAAA, I think that's the one thing, you know, I've been hearing, but I think for me to go into the deep end of the water and just do it would work better for me. Now, having said that, I'm starting some just so I can get used to how the sticks move. It's not really to make me a great flyer, because I do think there's difference. But
it does help though.
Yeah, I need to get some muscle memory of how sticks move. Because I can fly a camera drone, that's not a problem. But FPV is such a different animal. It's just so different. Someone told me that when you fly, hey Tish, that's my sister. Hey Tish, when you fly, some things got to make it hit right. You got to say it. When you're trying to fly, you want the thing to get up into the air. And with a camera drone, that is pretty easy. But you have to actually pilot instead of operate. You got to pilot it when you're in the FPV, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're actually in the bird. I mean, for the sake of not having argument, you're in that bird when you're flying because your goggles are having you in the bird, right? So it's a little bit different. Am I making sense or not?
That makes sense.
Oh no, it makes sense. And for the people like you guys brought up sims, I've never been a fan of sims. I tried a sim when I first started flying, and the physics were so far from like real life reactive physics. Like things weren't drifting the way they do in real life. They weren't falling the way that gravity actually pulled them down. Keep in mind, when I first started flying sims, it was 2 years ago. So I'm certain sims have gotten way better since then as FPV has grown overall and as a community, and, you know, more people have gotten into building the sims and building all that stuff. But I tried Velocidrone and I tried Liftoff, I think. And both of them, I was just like, I hate this. And I never looked back. I don't recommend that for people, because realistically, sims at this point, from what I understand, because I don't use them, but sims at this point have gotten to a spot where it is really good practice where you're not breaking all of your gear. You know, I would possibly try a sim again, but for me, it's more like, at this point, I really like flying outside. I like being out there and doing it. But especially for the people that are first starting out, and the people that don't have large budgets and don't have sponsors and don't have people that like can help when it comes to the cost of this, sims are a great thing. Definitely, you can crash 100 times and all you do is hit the reset button and boom, you're back in the air. And it does definitely, from what I've seen, it definitely helps with you getting the muscle memory and the understanding of tricks and getting up and down and, you know, figuring out all that stuff. But I personally don't use them. I do definitely recommend them, even though I don't personally use them.
I love what Centroid says, because I wouldn't try a new trick unless I practiced it on a sim first. $20 and all the drones you can crash. Love it. Oh my God. Hey, Waxfire, because I think that's what happens. That's what I'm thinking of as, I'm going to build, I'm right now learning how to solder. And so I was practicing soldering today and putting wires on things, and Puddin sent me something to try and do. And so I'm doing that. And so I'm going to be practicing that. I'm going to be practicing sims. I'm doing the build when I get to Canada in October. And then Kim and he has the build and I'm going to have a build. And then we'll be flying. So I'm going to try to get some muscle memory, a little something to help me.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Before I crash the hell out of my one and only drone.
A lot a lot of people love the Sims. When it comes to your practicing soldering, I don't know if he's recommended. I personally would recommend working on extending wires, like specifically motor wires and like video wires, because that's one of those things that soldering on a pad, you have a nice flat surface to push into. When you're extending a wire, you're bringing two wires together that you have to form a good connection. And a lot of times you're going to do that out in the field. Like I've extended a ton of motor wires out in the field, and it's definitely one of those skills that is super duper useful to have and is difficult because, like I said, they're two wires. There's no, you can't push them together on a flat surface. You have to solder them while they're separate like that. So it's definitely something that, you know, you're going to have those moments where you've got this set of motors on your quad and they're a great set of motors, but let's say you break that quad or something else happens, whatever, and you have to switch your ESC or you switch to a new frame. And now guess what? Your motor wires, even if you're using a 4-in-1, now your motor wires are too short. And they're too short by like this much, you know, literally like the smallest little increment. And you're like, what do I do? And that's where learning how to solder wires together, not just wires to pads, is super duper duper useful. Because if you can't do that, then you'll literally be sitting there in a lot of occasions and you'll be like, I have to order new motors. And honestly, you can take scrap motor wire from when you cut them before. You know, I always save my little
that's what we were talking about the other night, Val. Remember, in these containers, save all your spare everything, wires, screws, standoffs, anything. Save it. Save every piece.
We call those sacrificial wires. And it's any wire that you're not using, if it's longer than like this, you should save it in a pile, because even if it's like a little skinny yellow wire that you're like, I'm never going to use this, then you're going to come to that issue where you're going to swap your VTX because your other one went out, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm really glad I have this other little yellow wire so that I can keep the color coordination going. And I know which wire is going where, as opposed to having a yellow wire connected to a green wire. And you're just like, that's the same thing, except when you visually look at it and you're like, oh, wait, which one is which? Saving those sacrificial wire bundles, definitely, then you'll have, when you need them, you'll have them. I have probably like 3 sandwich baggies full of just like random wire tidbits that I carry everywhere with me, because they're part of my pack. And it's just one of those things that so many occasions, even just being with other people, they'll be like, oh, I don't have this. And I'll be like, hey, guess what? I have this bag full of 2-inch motor wires from when I clipped them when I got brand new motors, and now you can extend your motor wires, you know? And it's always good to keep those little tidbits.
So we have
little connectors that you might. Go ahead.
Sorry, we have a question for you. Coast to Coast Runs, which is Bill, he said, what do you do about prop wash in videos?
That's a tuning thing. I want to say that it's the D, but it's really what some people will tell you is when it comes to prop wash, that it's not just a tuning thing. It is a throttle control thing, and you're coming down too hard and trying to level off at too high of a speed. So if you don't want to mess with the tuning aspect of it, like I said, I'm not the best person to ask about that. I'm not exactly sure which component you would need to change depending on what you're experiencing. But a lot of times, if you come off the throttle a little bit and you're not trying to go from a fall to a forward motion in such a short time period, you can pull out a lot of prop wash, because that's you're getting dirty air in your propellers because you're coming down into that air that's all messy and trying to go forward in it, or turning in it or whatever you're doing. So realistically, if you just kind of have better throttle control, and I know that sounds terrible, but if you have better throttle control, you can take a lot of that out without messing with your tune. Just you gotta feather it.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Coast to Coast? Hope so.
Yeah, I would say that getting a hold of one of the guys that do a bunch of tuning, like that are heavily into the tuning, they'd be able to sit there and immediately they'd be like, Jamie's stupid. You need to adjust the D setting and raise it, or you need to lower the P or some, you know, I don't know personally what exactly the point is that you would change, but I know that you can change it with tuning, but a lot of it is also throttle control. I remember John used to tell me that all the time. Schizo would tell me all the time. He would sit there and he'd be like, well, you know, you want to have that prop wash if you had better throttle control. And I always was like, you're a jerk. And then I tried it and I was like, I see. It's really because I'm trying to change directions just too quickly without feathering into it. So.
Well, I actually don't know what prop wash is, so I'm hoping that it won't become an issue for me until I've flown more. Or that I won't know it's an issue until I've flown more.
Like Anna just gave you a definition, Val.
Huh?
You get these like wigglies in your video feed. Because you come down and it's sort of like you'll be coming, for me when it happens the most, I'll be coming down from like coming over the top of a tree or something, and it'll come down and it'll go as I'm getting closer to the ground because I'm trying to stop from falling to pick up. And it really is, if your prop not having, it's getting into all that dirty stuff because of the way that you're flying.
Okay.
Everybody deals with prop wash. The whole world does. It's normal.
So I wanted to tell you, you know, we're past our time by 16 minutes. I don't want it to stop, so I just keep going. But I know I want to be respectful of your time, and I just keep rolling along.
Well, I thought that we were doing this at 9 o'clock, and guess what? Now we are.
Now we are. That's right. That's right. Because I think that when people first start flying, you know, I saw Centroid flying a couple months ago when we were at Rogers, and Kim flew, and Corey Mano. I don't know if you've seen him fly, but he is phenomenal. And I want to do that, but I'm thinking that my flights will probably be freestyle. I'm not sure that I'm going to be doing racing. Do you think if you play games on like PS4s and stuff, you get better at doing things? I don't do that. PS4 makes me nervous.
I don't play a whole lot of games at this point. I used to play quite a few, and there's something to be said about the hand-eye coordination that does come from playing video games, because you're stuck in the goggles and you're using your hands to manipulate this object. So there is something to be said about the hand-eye coordination, but realistically, I think if you were to practice anything that involves you using hand-eye coordination, you would be fine. It would be helpful, but it's, you know, I don't think you have to play video games, or it really like makes a huge difference in your abilities outside of the response time, because you're used to the hand-eye coordination where you're not paying attention and to your fingers.
I think that it makes it
like
harder
when you're playing,
because the controls are opposite on a first-person shooter like Call of Duty, for example, or PUBG, than they are when you're flying. So when you're looking in the game, it's a complete opposite movements of how you're actually moving when you're flying. So it doesn't help you. It would hinder you.
So all I can tell you is I was flying a regular camera drone, and my grandson came over and grabbed the controls from me and flew that thing around like it was nothing. I go, "You've been flying drones?" "No." I was like, "Oh."
I think a lot of that is just that, like, kids, like the younger kids, they've just been like exposed and part of the tech since they were born. You know, kids these days, you know, there's like toddlers that can work an iPhone better than I can. And I worked at AT&T. Like, I know how to work. I know how to work a cell phone, you guys. So it's one of those things that when I think it's really just that it's so much more integrated into their lives than it was even for me. Like, we didn't have a computer lab until I was in middle school, you know. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was like 17.
Right.
You know? Whereas kids nowadays, like my daughter has a cell phone and she has for a couple of years. It's just they're raised with this technology, so it's just like an innate ability to be able to do it. They're like, oh, I can do this, da, 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 and they have it figured out in like a second.
They do. They just do marvelous. When I first started learning to text, I looked like, I don't know what, like,
I remember teaching my dad how to download music onto his MP3 player and use LimeWire. I don't know if anybody else remembers LimeWire.
I remember that. LimeWire.
But I remember sitting there and I remember my dad sitting at the computer and him just looking up at me. Keep in mind, my father is not one of those people that asks for help or anything, but I just remember him looking up at me just like with the most confused look on his face. And he was just like, what in the world are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just dragging this from here. And like, to me, it was just like a thing. I was like, oh, this is so easy, Dad. Like, look. And he's just looking at me like, how? What do you mean you're doing this? And it's like, oh, wait. It's just my father was definitely not raised with technology, you know? So I was raised like midway with the technology, and then like kids like my daughter and kids younger than her, all of them, it's just like this part of their blood that they're like, oh, here's a piece of electrical equipment, blah, blah, blah. I'm master at it. Amazing. And you're just like, that's cool. Go outside and play with a soccer ball.
My son, if I ask them how to do something, even my daughter, they'll just take it, do it, hand it back to me. And I'm telling them, how's that going to help me? Well, it's done now. Yeah, but how's that going to help me? And they're like, no. They just walk away. So I'm there, and I'll just keep playing until I figure it out myself, because they don't help me. They're like, we're not going to do this. But anyway, yeah. So, did you get a new quad? No, I didn't. I'm going to build one. I got all my parts. So we're just working on that right now. So I am probably going to stay on for a little bit longer. I want to say, if anyone needs to go at this point, I don't want to hold anyone to the live stream if they need to go. So please feel free. And then I'll just keep going for a little bit. Everybody want to stay, or somebody want to go?
I'm good.
Now for a little bit, I don't mind chilling. I haven't eaten yet, so at some point I'm
go get some food.
Yeah, my sister came in like an hour ago, and she was like, hey, are you gonna eat dinner? Because we normally we get done doing all of our stuff and do dinner like around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I was just like, I'll be out in a little while. When she came and told me that food was ready, because a lot of times I'll cook dinner. So, but she a lot of times she came in and she's like, hey, food's ready. I'm like, okay, that's fine, not a big deal. And now I'm sitting here, I'm just like, ooh, my belly. But I'm not like dying or anything.
I don't want you to die.
Oh, no.
On Belle's show, she's not liable for that.
Yeah, if you could sign this piece of paper, I'm not liable.
I didn't sign any contracts. I didn't sign any liability waivers. The last couple of days, though, like in life in general, to be totally honest, like I don't stop moving until about this time anyway. So now is about the time that on the days that I don't make sure that I eat food because everybody else is eating, when it's like just me or I'm traveling or something, I'll get to like 9:30 and I'll be like, did I eat any food today?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then I'm like, oh no, because I'll just get too busy, especially when it's hot. I don't want to eat in the middle of the day anyway. So.
Hi, Kelly. Yeah, I think that's something that I will do more and more, because I work a lot of hours when the very short amount of time. I like 4 days, I'll put in 70 hours. So when my days off come, I almost like a husband.
Radgirl, that's really loud.
Huh?
Oh, I was just saying, Radgirl, when you move your phone, that's really loud. If somebody has a
My phone?
Yeah, your phone.
I think it was her keyboard.
Is it your keyboard?
Yeah, I was just typing a second ago.
Sounds like you're dragging a body or something.
It's probably one of us. It's okay.
Sorry.
Are you dragging your body?
Oh, that's okay. I was like, my phone is muted.
So, Radgirl, yeah, whenever you need to, that's fine.
Okay.
But I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming. It's just
Yeah, no problem. It was fun to hang out and sit in and listen to everybody and all their knowledge. So it's always good to learn more.
I know. I feel like I'm walking away knowing a lot more stuff than I've learned before. So I'm really happy.
I mean, Radgirl's been flying for quite a while. I'm sure she's got a ridiculous amount of at least experience and knowledge going in there, because we've been flying for probably about, I think he's been flying maybe a little bit longer than I have, to be totally honest. So I'm sure there's a decent amount of knowledge going on over there.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You know, I just learned, you know, it's just me and Mike. We don't really have a whole lot of people to like bounce questions off of or anything. So we're just learning as we go. And so whatever he learns, I learn. And
Between Rotor Riot and Bardwell and a couple other people, we figure it out eventually.
Yeah. So, it's just, I don't know. We're sometimes just bumbling idiots, honestly. But it all seems to work out okay.
Well, you know, if there's anything we can help with. Sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, I was just saying that's exactly how I felt when I was putting together the quads that I just destroyed. It was literally one of those things. I was available to quad, but weird ESCs I'd never seen before, and a random flight controller that I've never seen before, and a VTX that I've never used before, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, what do? I can't even find like pinout charts on the internet of this to know where I'm supposed to put things, because nothing's labeled like everything else. Just like, oh, I'm so dumb. Like, I know how to build a quad except for this one.
Yeah.
Plus the tech changes almost constantly.
You are not my drones.
Well, if you need anything, Radgirl, you know that you can message me or Chronix or any like KATchUL8r or any of the other guys in our team, BSK, like all of us. Any of us. We're not experts, but anything that you know, we want to help if we can.
Right. I appreciate that. And Mike and I are the same. I mean, we try and like help people. If we know something and we figured something out, we try and like, you know, pass that knowledge on. I think our biggest hump was when we upgraded from the Fly Sky radios to the Tyrannus. Oh my gosh, like Mike was beside himself when he ordered his and he couldn't figure out anything with it. And so many YouTube videos and reading, but we eventually got there.
You got like Lewis scripts and all sorts of like firmwares and stuff that you have to download to be able to make the Tyrannus work.
Yeah.
But like they were saying, me personally, anytime you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. If I personally can't help you, I will definitely put you in contact with like the leading expert that I know to be able to help you with that, and be like, hey, I don't know how to do this, but let me get this person to help you out, because it's not something that I have the knowledge of.
I really appreciate that.
Because there's a lot that I don't. There's most of it that I don't know. But I am lucky enough that I have several really amazing resources when it comes to getting help. So it's kind of one of those things. And all of the people are super, super, super into helping ladies stay in the air and helping them stay motivated and keep flying. So when it comes to having questions, just pretend like Mike isn't there, and all the guys will help you. I know that sounds terrible, but the fact is, it's just like, you're great and I love you, but there's so many knowledgeable guys that are just like, you're a girl and you need help, let me help you. And it's like, cool, I'm glad you can give me some answers, because YouTube has so many an overwhelming number of videos to try to learn. You type it in and you're just like, well, who am I going to listen to? Teach me how to do this today.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a lot easier to have like somebody that you can directly be like, yo, what do I do here? This is confusing. And then they'll just give you the simple, straightforward answer of, yep, just solder this to this and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if I can't personally help you, or Kat can't help you, or one of your resources that you do have can't, please reach out, and I will do what I can to get you guys in touch with somebody who knows what they're talking about. Like 100%, like no question. It's just going to be as simple as them. I remember I was doing a build one time and I got super lost and stuck, and I got a hold of Schizo and I was like, hey, I can't get this to work. And he goes, well, did you change to D-Shot 600 or there was one little tiny tab that I need to flip that normally you would, but it was something that I just didn't even think about. And I went back into the GUI, I flipped it, and my problem was solved. And I was just like, wow, I've looked through 8 tutorials on YouTube to try to figure out how to do this. I haven't been able to, and it really took you messaging me 3 words, and now I'm like, now it's fixed. Amazing.
Yeah.
Always don't hesitate to reach out, even if it's, even if you think it's dumb. Like, it's not dumb at all. We're all pretty dumb.
It's in the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, this is a great community for trying to get it, because when I was looking at all my parts and I started asking the community, what should be happening, where I should, everybody help me. Well, maybe too much help at one point, because it was a little bit confusing, but they all want to be part of everybody in what they're doing. They all love being part of it. It's really a pretty exciting hobby to have when people love being part of it. So let me ask you something. What do you think about the 107? It's not really with FPV, correct?
Are you talking to me personally?
Yes. Yes.
When it comes to Part 107, it's actually something I will be getting my Part 107 soon, because while it's not something you have to have with FPV, if you're a hobby flyer, that's fine. You don't need Part 107 at this point in like all the situations. If you want to do anything that makes you money with your quad, you have to have a Part 107. So if you want to go and let's say a company wants to hire you to do a cool shoot of them racing cars, you can't accept any money without a Part 107. Right. You can't be hired without a Part 107.
And so that is also with FPV. Then your smaller drones, you still need that 107 then, correct?
If you plan on doing any of the stuff that you would earn money, like even the filming that I do with Rotor Riot, the only reason that I'm allowed to fly in those videos is because I'm under Drew's Part 107. Somebody never just you. But if I was trying to put out a video of my own to go on to a monetized channel like that, I would, like a money-making channel like how they do, I would have to have my own Part 107. To go to any of the paid shoots, I would have to have my own Part 107. To go to do paid shoots for companies that involve travel, you have to have your Part 107. So it's not one of those things that is necessary if you are a hobbyist. If you are just out having fun with your friends and flying and that's all you're worried about, definitely not something you even need to worry about. Like, it's not something that's necessary. It's not something you need. It is something that if you have your Part 107, it doesn't hurt you. It's just like any other education. Like, it's never going to hurt you to have a degree. It's only going to help you. So having a Part 107 is never a bad thing. But if it's something that you're not going to use, it's not something you need to spend the time and money doing. Like, it's not required to get up in the air and be flying legally.
Yeah.
So thank you, Anthony, so much for that super chat. I so appreciate it. You're so sweet, so dear. Thank you. Yeah, I want the 107, and I don't even know why. It's like it's out there, and so now I want it.
Well, you fly like the big camera drones,
right?
So with those in particular, even if you wanted to do something like help with storm relief efforts or help do something just to help your local community, the fire department wouldn't be able to let you help without a Part 107.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be able to sit there and even offer your services to help with a search and rescue without a Part 107. Like, they can't legally let you help. So even if it's something, like I said, that you're not going to use, a degree never hurt anybody. It's never going to be a bad thing to have that piece of paper hanging up on your wall. They're like $150 to take the test, and you can get most study materials for free online. If you need a couple of links, I have a couple of really useful links for that that I can shoot you as well. But you don't need it. But however, if you want it, definitely get it. It's never going to hurt you to do it.
I don't know. I just want to have it. I just want to have it. I don't know. Same thing when I went to college, just wanted to have it.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing it.
Me?
I was thinking about getting it just because the field that I work in is so flooded, and it is so difficult to find a job in the field that I have my degree in, that I'm looking at that as like a backup plan, really. Like, it's probably going to happen real soon.
It's another reason why I've been looking into it quite a bit. Not only do I have other stuff going on where I'm going to need my Part 107, but realistically, like, I want to get like a Mavic or a Phantom or one of those, and I want to be able to put that not just to use for the community and be helpful, but to be able to make money doing it. Like, to be able to sit there, go and fly around somebody's house and take aerial photos for a real estate company. They'll pay you a couple $100, and all you're doing is going out there, making sure you're in the correct airfields, you know, and you have the correct clearances through your apps. And then guess what? You fly around and you take a couple of nice aerial photos of the property, and boom, it's like the easiest $200 you ever made.
Exactly.
And you're flying while you're doing it. So it's kind of like, you know, even if it just ends up being something that I do to make additional income, it's something that I've been really looking into, finding a used Mavic or one of the better camera drones, because I don't want to buy one brand new, but as like a little side hustle over here where it's like, hey, I have free time this week. I want to go and make some money, and I can help out this company and do stuff with this company. And, you know, you look online and you even on Craigslist, you can find ads every single day of people looking for somebody to come and take aerial photos. They need aerial photos of their business or their property that they're trying to sell, or it's a group of hunting guys that want aerial photos of the area that they hunt so that they have a better idea of where they should put their stands and where they should put their feed spots. Like, all sorts of people every day on the internet are like, I need a drone pilot. And I sit there and I look at that stuff and I'm like, if I had my 107, I could be that drone pilot.
Yeah.
So how does it work for us Canadians then? Do we need it if we want to fly in the US? Like, what is the...
Oh, girl. When it comes to you Canadians, I could direct you to a couple of guys that I know up in Canada But honestly, I don't know. It would be, for me personally, it's if you were from any other country asking me, what are the laws and regulations where I live? And it's like, oh, I don't know, because the lines and regulations are so difficult just where I live. I haven't even researched living in even Canada, you know, because I know when I go up there, like when I travel up there, the lines are not quite the same because I'm a tourist, but because you're a resident.
Yes and no. They changed our laws recently, so my understanding is it's kind of blanketed, but there's also no one currently enforcing the laws really, unless you're in like a big city trying to do something silly that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to be in the big city right now in Canada.
I will send you, Kat, I will send you Paco's information, because I know he does have like all of the things necessary for traveling and flying and all that kind of stuff, and he's Canadian.
Perfect.
So he may have better insight on specifically the laws and regulations up there, because I would be a liar if I said I had any idea.
No, and that would help, because I know we want to go to Buffalo, which is not far from us, and we've seen some really cool spots there in New York. I've met a ton of pilots now in New York, and that's somewhere else that's also very close to us. So, and of course, IO next year is something we really would like to do.
Yeah, but Kat, just because you have a Canadian license doesn't mean you can fly in America.
No, and I don't even have a Canadian license. That's why I'm asking.
Roger has all,
what do I need?
Roger has all the links to be able to go to the sites to be able to do your registration and your test.
Okay.
So if you need it, just ask Roger. He'll give you the information.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You just did.
I'll link one last year down in Atlanta, because he was traveling while flying and doing a bunch of stuff like that. And I know that he's going to like Korea, he's been to America, he's going to other places. So when it comes like specifically about wanting to know what you need to be able to go to New York or any stuff like that, he may be a good resource. But I'm going to link his stuff to you when we get off of here. And he is super, super helpful. He's a great guy. He's an amazing, like, his skills have progressed so much in the last year, and I already thought he was great. Like,
Corey Mano says he was actually at the race in Ottawa on the weekend.
Who?
Paco was there with Corey Mano on the weekend at a race in Ottawa.
Yeah.
You see,
so let me, I'll send that information over when we get off, because
perfect.
He's super helpful, great resource, and he'll definitely know what you need to do to be able to not get in trouble. I think on the American side of it, as long as you're not doing anything you really shouldn't be doing, our laws are relatively relaxed. You know, just don't go above 399 feet. Don't fly over people. Don't, you know, don't do anything stupid, and you're fine. For the most part.
You just fly. That's all we do.
Yeah.
We have enough land here. So
well, that Kim, there's no cop near you for like hours.
There's nobody here other than Yeti and Bear.
Yeah.
But like with like IO, I know that for us, we have to have AMA membership to be able to fly at IO. So when it comes to Paco, like Paco will know what you'll need to be able to fly at events like that. If for whatever reason, like specifically because you're from Canada, if for whatever reason he can't, I know that he'll have resources that can help you with that. But I imagine he'll know exactly what you need to have to be able to fly in the States and what you would need to be able to fly other places. So I'll definitely link that up when we're done, because he's great. I love him. He's a good guy. One of those super random encounter meetings that I was just like, oh wow, like I'm so lucky that like you're here right now. We just happened to meet in the same place at the same time, and I was like, you're not even from Atlanta. What are you doing here? You know? So
that's definitely one of my favorite things so far, is just meeting all the different people. I mean, last weekend I met a ton of people. We were flying with a bunch of guys in the Guelph area out here. Like there's so many cool people, and it's just so fun making all these different connections all over and getting the chance to fly with these different people. So I know like I have my passport, Rich is getting his, and we both drive. So we're really up for next year, I think, a lot of road tripping, because we're kind of almost in the winter time here. But I mean, at least as much as we can, we want to travel and have fun and just do weekend trips even to the States. And I mean, I have some hotel connections that I can use and we'll save some costs that way.
Right. Well, that's exciting because I know someplace you need to visit if I don't make it up to Canada before.
You just need to make it up here. Like the door is open.
You just said that it's
I'm gonna
about
fly with you.
winter time. I don't go places.
You have 3 months to come before winter hits. 3 months left before the
when everything gets covered in ice, that's where I'm just like, no, thank you.
Yeah, you got 3 months to get here, and then it's got to be next year.
Just don't show up when it's 5 feet of snow.
Yeah, well, that's
don't scare her off. Don't tell her that.
Oops.
Yeah, Waxfire is telling us it's starting in 1 month. No, not 1 month.
Yeah, that's more like
we have September, October, November to go through. It doesn't come to
beginning of
December.
October. So there's no.
Waxfire, stop jinxing us.
Yes, Waxfire. 2 before snow hits, not 3 months.
No, 3 months. You've got September, October, November still. It won't come till December.
It snowed 2 weeks ago.
Waxfire, wherever Waxfire lives, I don't want to live.
Oh, okay. I have to go grab something. I'll be right back. Okay. Katrina, thank you for taking over. Just
Val, take Waxfire's wrench so I can boot him out. No, there.
No 4-letter S words in this chat.
That's right.
I love how she said thanks, Katrina, again, but I didn't. I guess I'm doing this again. But I liked Jamie asked us questions because I thought that was a little different and more fun.
Well, yeah, because you guys are here too, and I feel like, well, I realize that this is like a let's interview Jamie thing. It's still like a weird thing where it's like, nah, you guys can talk too. Like, you guys have great experiences. Also, what?
Well, you guys are both just way ahead of me in experience. So, I mean, if it's something I'm confident I know, I'll talk. But otherwise, I mean, I just like to learn from you guys.
Right.
Well, I love it. I love that you are already so personally invested in this.
It is like everywhere I go now, it's like, can I fly? Can I fly here? Can I fly here? Can I fly there?
Yeah.
So really quick, guys.
And
So
you'll drive around forever.
Lewis, there's what you said I had to do. I had to change these 3 from over there. And then, let's see, I put these 2 guys on to here. Not the greatest trick. And then I cleaned up the board where there were big globs.
Good job.
Don't look bad. Looks pretty good.
No, and your
No,
practice
those
board
others
should
don't look
be there soon, Val. Like, I mailed it yesterday. You should have it really soon.
Yeah, so I think I did it, Louis P. I'm not as happy with these wires here. I think I could have probably done better. But
those look pretty good. For
Oh,
your
those look good. Oh, look good.
awesome.
yeah, I had to put a bunch of stuff. But the thing is, when I wear my glasses to do them, and I use that little helping hand magnifying glass, it's I can't see clearly, so I have to use the magnifying glass or just my glasses. And Kim's telling me I need a bigger one because he was the one. We did Zoom like this. I had the cameras all set up all over my kitchen so I could turn the exhaust on. So all the exhaust would go up my exhaust thing. And then I just started, I go, okay, here we go. Oh my God.
I'll capture. Sorry, go ahead.
When you're soldering on parts, because I'm guessing you're using like an older part right now that you're practicing with.
Yeah, put it and send it to me.
Yeah, I would say that when you're soldering on brand new parts that you're like, this is brand new, put electrical tape, like take little sections of electrical tape and cover up the stuff that you're not soldering on. Because if you get those blobs of solder on the components of the boards, you can short stuff out and you can run a brand new board just soldering it without ever plugging it in.
Yeah, because what I did is I took a painter's
with those
tape.
little strips of electrical tape to cover up the components, however, you don't have to worry about because you can get boards too hot too. That's another big thing. Is
Yeah.
you can apply too much heat, and then you fry it before you ever even apply power to it.
Literally what KATchUL8r was just saying, Jamie, was like exactly what you just said, was the electrical tape on the boards.
So I use painter's tape to cover my board,
Doesn't matter.
but I'm not sure. I think it would have just burned through that pretty fast because it got really, really hot. I didn't realize. Kim told me I should probably use
tweezers,
because I was holding it with my hand and it got hot.
Another, if you have access to them, which if you can find them pretty easily, tweezers are great, but sometimes when you're trying to solder wires, like skinnier wires, even tweezers, you can pinch too hard and actually create a short within the wire. You can get like hemostats, like medical hemostats, and you can sit there and you can set it so it's tight enough to hold the wire, but you're not squishing the wire and breaking it in the middle.
You can get those on Amazon and eBay.
Are those?
I know a lot of hemostats.
Kim has it right there in the picture.
They're basically like tweezers that have little notches on the handle so that you can set them at a specific spot. A lot of the top guys will use hemostats because, like I was saying, with the tweezers, you'll be sitting there trying so hard to make sure that you have it in the right spot and you're angling it and all that jazz that you'll squeeze too hard and it'll break the wire within it. So
now, tweezers are going to add to that. The tech in me says research your hemostats because there's very, very different types. For example, there's a KATchUL one, which is very aggressive of a hemostat. And if you were to try to use that, it will literally go like this and just crunch all of your wires. So you want something like a mosquito or something just very, very thin. If Kim tries to turn that so that it's open like this and you put the blade up to the front, you'll probably notice it's all individual little lines going up and down. It's probably a mosquito, and that's what you want so that it's not going to crunch your wires and just
You can put
them.
shrink wrap on the ends too, so you don't damage the wires.
The ones that Kim has in the video right there is exactly what I would recommend. Because you can get, tweezers come in like, every toolkit that you're going to buy for the most part because they're cheap and easy. But I have a set of RDQ Q-tips or tweezers that I break, and then I have hemostats that I use for as much as I can.
I don't want to know where you got those, Kim, because I think I know.
Hey, we all go to the doctors, don't we?
You know what? Leave with stuff, Kim.
I'm sorry.
They always leave you in there forever with the door shut.
Hey, you pay through the nose for your medical.
Every time I went to the doctor as a kid and my dad was there, because you sit there in the room forever. As soon as the nurse would drop us off, I would sit down and then my dad would get up and he would start rummaging through drawers and he'd be like, all right.
Oh, geez.
He'd be like, what's going home with me today? And it was literally one of those things. I'd be like, oh my God, Dad, like we're going to get in so much trouble. He goes, we're paying $45 just to walk into the room. He goes, if I want to take a couple Band-Aids and a couple of like rolls of gauze, he goes, nobody's going to miss that. I promise. And I was just like, whatever, Dad, you acquire whatever you need to acquire.
Oh my God, how funny.
That's where I also got my hemostats, was my dad taking them from the doctor.
Oh my God.
You paid
so
for
here Louis P. Floyd sent me to tell me what he wanted me to do on the board. So he sent me a page. He's so sweet.
That's really cool that he did that much effort. Like that's awesome.
This thing with like 3 wires, so I could do them. So.
Solder. No, your solders looked good though. When you have the little tiny stuff that's more difficult, don't be scared. And if you need help, ask for it, because
because I was a little worried.
Little tiny wires, or if you have to do like bridging, which you'll probably have to do some bridging, doing those can be a little difficult as well, because bridging 2 little pads together is one of those things that you're just like, you either get it or you don't, and when you don't, you have to keep trying to get them to bridge, and it can be fun.
Yeah, I broke up a transmitter today just to help Val out.
Yeah, so when I go
I
up
need a PC. I need something to help her with, so I had to just sacrifice the transmitter. So there we go.
oh my
Destroy.
God. Stop destroying stuff.
Give her more stuff to solder.
I sent her a practice board, Jamie. Like, you know, the Mamba Stack boards? I got a couple of those to give to women to encourage them to get into it. So I sent one for Val. Russell's wife is supposed to be getting one. I don't have his address yet, though. And then I have one left to give to someone who wants to learn how to solder. If you know of anyone, send them my way, because I'll just ship it right to them.
Yeah. I can think of a couple of girls who are working on soldering. Let me get a hold of them and be like, hey, would you be interested? And this is like a used stack, so they just
no, it's a no. Mamba Stack did something really cool. I'll show you. It's right here. They did this because they know that tools are expensive. So it's a whole practice board with all the different sizes of solder pads that you're going to get with some solder wire.
That's nice.
Oh, it's like a whole, like, it's literally like
it's a training kit.
Board.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me get a hold of a couple of girls and see where they're at on their soldering game, because there are a couple of the newer girls that definitely would be like, oh, sweet, my soldering could definitely do some work, and I'm worried to destroy my working flight controller, because that's still scary for me. When I open a brand new anything and it's never been soldered on before, I'm just like, oh, I hope I don't destroy this. Like, I've been soldering long enough now. I shouldn't have that fear, but for whatever reason, it's still every time I do brand new motors on an ESC, like brand new motor wires, it's always one of those things I'm just like, oh, I hate this. Like, this is
I hate cutting them. I hate cutting them because you're like, what if it's too short? What if I didn't like how I placed the wire? What if I want to wrap it this way, not this way? Like,
I did a live stream on my Instagram when I was doing the Vanover motors onto my quad, and I remember sitting there and everybody was like, wow, Jamie, it's taking you a while to cut those. And it's literally because I sit there and I measure them, like I line them up, and then I sit there and I'm like, yes, no, I should leave it longer, but I shouldn't leave it that long. And I just really second guess it, because once it's cut, it's cut. And I would rather cut a little bit more off or have a little bit of slack to push up, which, by the way, you should always leave extra room in your wires, always. But I would rather have that than sit there and it be like literally, a quarter of an inch too short, and you'd be like, awesome, now I get to extend motor wires again, because I spent so much of my early FPV extending motor wires for older motors that I was like, used motors that I was getting from the guys while they were racing, or getting from our local guys, or anything like that. I spent so much time extending motor wires that it's one of those things that when I get brand new ones, I'm just like, ooh, brand new motor wires, but they're so long and gorgeous.
You could always use race wire.
Yeah, that's something that somebody has recently brought to my attention. I actually soldered my first bit of race wire this weekend with the Rotor Riot guys, and I was like, wow, this is definitely super useful for those wires that are already so short, because you just solder directly to them. But at the same time, it adds more connections between the motor and the flight controller and the ESC. So it's like, for me, it's just like, there's more barriers for the current to go through, as opposed to if you can have just the single wire. It's like directly information and power directly to the motor, versus having, here's a roadblock, and here's a roadblock, and here's a roadblock, where all the solder points are. Yeah. Which I'm certain that's not how it works, but in my head, that's how it works.
Fox Capture's asking if you have a build you can show, because he's interested in seeing how you set up and lay out your quad.
I can show you the build that I actually just did.
Okay.
Give me a second.
I hate to say it, but I have to run now, so I'm gonna.
Radgirl, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Radgirl.
Nice seeing you again, too.
Yeah, it was good seeing everybody, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah. I have you down for Sunday. I was going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Not scare you.
All right, no worries. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
You too.
So this is my current build. I'm not really sure without taking off the top plate how I'm going to be able to show you much of it. But these were brand new motors when I put them on. The only reason this isn't flying right now is because I need to fix my camera and I need to swap this motor because I slammed it into concrete at like as fast as I possibly could in a power loop inside of a building. This past weekend, which you may never see that footage, but we'll see. But basically, well, just because it was stuff like we were filming and I don't really know what content, like I try to, when I film with the Rotor Riot crew, I try to limit what content I put out, knowing what is going to go in episodes so that I don't spoil what we filmed, because a lot of times when we film episodes, they won't come out for like a month. So, you know, like when we did the DJI stuff, we had filmed that in June, but it didn't come out until the beginning of August or whatever. And it's one of those things that if I had shared anything from that day of us flying, it would have included, which I couldn't from that day at all because we were under the don't talk about it clause. Like we had to sign paperwork and stuff.
Right.
It's one of those things that it's like, I have to be really careful with some of the footage that I have because it'll ruin episodes that we've worked on by giving away what's going on. And I try to be gentle with that. But basically, currently I have a BL Heli 50 amp 4-in-1 ESC in here. And that goes obviously down at the bottom. And then I currently have a Lux F7 board on top of it, which is my flight controller. I like to put my VTXs in the back because obviously that's the closest spot for where the antennas typically go. So I currently have my least favorite VTX in the whole world, but it's what I had. I have this Luminaire VTX in the back here. And then I've got my Crossfire receiver right here. And then I run my Crossfire, which I have to fix this as well. I run my Crossfire down to my arm because I tear them up really bad in the back and they don't get as good of reception. And yeah, I just try to keep it really clean. I try to keep the wires in a manner like Bardwell actually taught me this weekend when we were building a different build that we used for an episode that we were filming. But with like these, a trick that he just taught me is with my ESCs, I always just kind of do them out to the front because that's what I've always done. But if you actually on your ESC wires tilt them to the side to begin with, they're a little bit less likely to get pulled on and stuff like that. I left these are those wires that I left super long because I was like, I don't want to cut them, but I just sort of like shove them up into out of the way so they still have some length. But really when it comes to builds and how you do your layout, most of them are pretty similar. You're going to put your ESC if you have a 4-in-1 on the bottom, or if you're using individuals, you would put your PDB on the bottom. And then you'll put your flight controller on top. And depending on how tall you want your stack, like the body of your frame, you can put your VTX wherever is convenient for you, whatever works. For me, I try to keep them too tall and that's it. Like I try not to make them any taller than 2 levels because it seems, well, it doesn't seem, it makes the quad itself a lot less strong when your top plate is sitting, 2 inches off of your bottom plate. It's just asking for your standoffs to be destroyed. So yeah, I don't know if that really answered your question about builds and stuff, but this is how I currently have mine.
How do you wire your 4-in-1 ESCs?
Yeah, that's what I was asked next. So guys, I am going to go ahead and shut the stream down. Everyone on live stay, and I'm going to say goodbye to everyone in the chat. Is that okay? Stay where you are. Okay. KATchUL8r FPV, thank you so much for being here. Max Air 420. You have a nice night. 616, Joan Donato, Sean, Mr. Crowley and his Ninja Rabbit is in. Let's see. Inside joke. I don't know if Louis P. Floyd's still here. Hey, Wakey, you and Nell, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much. You know, if I forgot any names, please know it's not intentional. I love you all. I appreciate you being in. Thank you for coming by and taking the time to be with us tonight. Well, we talked about an important subject, how to put more FPV women, you know, how to get us more into FPV and noticed and all that. So I really appreciate it, guys. So I'm going to go sign off. And don't forget, Sunday night, 7 o'clock, I'll be here. I hope you will be too. Okay. Bye, guys.